Yo, yo, yo. We in the building, man. About to get it in. You know what I'm saying? Welcome y'all to the first CED talk. You know what I'm saying? He got a lot to get off his chest, man. So we felt it was only right, you know what I mean, to give him his own, you know what I'm saying, segment powered by the pseudo killers. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna let y'all come on in the
Appreciate.
building. Yes, indeed, man. What's going on, Sid? What's going on with you, man? Glad to have you here tonight.
Man, everything is everything. You know what it is. Watching these YouTube streets. Uh, I must say though, we've come a long way. The fact that
Oh yeah.
I'm at the point to doing a show like this is indicative of the growth that we've made as a community. That we are now willing and comfortable engaging in scientific discourse. You can see the two upcoming debates are evolution based. So we're moving in the right direction. At the same time, uh, there are rules of engagement. When you're playing football, um, after you graduate flag football, then you need to start putting on the cleats. Then you need the protection, shoulder pads. You need the
Yes,
helmet
indeed.
because the game gets real.
Yes, indeed.
And then
Yes, indeed.
there's a whole, so there's levels to it, and then the dialogue and the terminologies, the application, how things are done, what the confinements. It is necessary for us to put the guardrails on and let everyone know that you simply can't make it up as you go. Science is discipline. It's counterintuitive, but it requires discipline, right? It forces you to challenge yourself, your own beliefs, your
Right.
own ideas, and once you engage in it systematically, your ability to move, your ability to separate who you are from the information becomes paramount. Far too often, we are engaging with individuals that see science as or see things as their identity, right?
Right, right.
And science becomes a tool in that game, and then it's misappropriated and abused. So I thought it was necessary. We're at that point that we need to slow everything down, put
Hmm.
put uh, put the rules of engagement out there, explain these processes, and see if we can narrow the conversation a bit. So although I'm seeing the willingness to engage, it's still wild west. So we need to
Already.
put those restraints.
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard when you're trying to convey a message or whatever, because we all still learning, we all still, reading and watching educational videos and things like that. And when you're trying to pass on the information and to somebody that clearly doesn't understand it and they trying to argue with you on the spot. And so nobody really gonna learn like that, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, other than maybe the person that might be watching it, that might be looking it up as you're telling it, you know what I'm saying, and they're going and fact checking and this, that, and the third, you know what I'm saying? So but you're right though, it's like they trying to
And
trying to get they're trying to
you,
get two they're trying to get 2 or 3 hours of information crammed into 10 minutes while arguing with somebody is impossible. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is really the
yeah,
experts
yeah,
that really
yeah.
can do it
It
like
is
that. You
just
know what I'm saying? Go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
yeah. So what we're doing on these levels is so like we're not experts, right? We do not have the wealth of knowledge, right,
Fact.
in our bag to be up here sparring, right? You see it at conferences when you have 6 PhDs up there and you have a moderator a moderator that throws a subject out and they go to battle, right? And it's
Hmm.
it's it's entertainment, but it's also educational. But these people are the professional football players. They know all the rules. They have been trained in the game. They respect the parameters. They respect the rules of engagement, and they have the ability to do that. What we're doing down here, we're in a back alley somewhere, and we're scrapping.
Right. right, right,
everyone is trying to win the fight instead of being accurate, right? And
right.
with academia and with information, that becomes tricky. So there are moments where we just need to slow things down and really understand what we're dealing with. And a lot of the misconceptions, I hear them, right? Because you're academically trained, especially in the sciences. So I hear the flaws in reasoning. I see the philosophical uh, pitfalls that are taking place. So I said, you know what? It's about time. It's about time to do this. It was something that I keep saying it. Yeah, they don't understand human evolution. We need to slow the
Mhm.
conversation down. So that's why we're here, and that's what the series is. We're gonna slow it down. We're gonna focus on some subjects and some topics, and of course, we're gonna start with what actually is science. What is this thing? Right, and how is it used? How do we apply it, and what are the rules of engagement, right? So that's what this presentation is going to be about. And take your notes, have your notepads ready, have your questions ready, and once we get through, we can open up the panel. A lot of what was discussed in the after show this afternoon on the community of skeptics is going to come back tonight, and you're going to see how these things overlap. So, Ken, whenever you're ready.
True indeed, man. I'm shout out some people in the building real quick, man. Our major supporters. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all all day. Omar Reed, what's going on? Black Sun, 403. What it do? What it do? Chalim Way, man. What's going on, Big Chill, man? What's happening with you, man? Glad to see
Pseudo
you in the
killer
building,
official.
dog. Pseudo killer official, man. Demar Demar Middle Demar Milton, 4882. What's happening with you, dog? Appreciate you. Lord Goose. What's happening, man? Jody Breeze in the building. Miss Lisa, you know what I'm saying? Auntie, what's going on with you,
Miss
man? One of our
Felicia.
biggest supporters. You feel me? Uh, there's more people gonna come in the building as we go, man. And then you're gonna have some people that gonna might catch the show in the morning or tomorrow or something to come back and watch. But Raymond Beer, what's up with you? I think I said that right. But
Mom,
yeah,
what's
man,
up,
said
family? Y'all,
you know,
yeah,
go ahead, my
share the
brother.
show, leave a comment, like the show. That's the easiest thing to do to help the algorithm grow. Just hit the like button, leave a comment. This is how you help the algorithm grow. Cost nothing, and it helps us get this information out there.
And if you got some smoke with said, man, make sure you stick around because we gonna share that link. You know what I'm saying? We definitely ain't running from no smoke. We gonna let you get on the panel.
The
Long as it ain't nothing
show,
don't come with the disrespect. Don't come with the disrespect because we gonna have to get you up out of here. But we down to have a good decent conversation, nice dialogue, you know what I'm saying, and get somewhere with this thing. So without further ado, man, go ahead, say it. You know what I'm saying? Get it in, bro.
yes, sir. All right. Uh, let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Set Talk. So, what is Set Talk? A space dedicated to critical thinking, evidence based discussions, and the careful separation of history, science, and culture from the modern myths, ideological narratives, and of course, pseudoscience. Why this series exists? Before we can talk about Egypt, genetics, or human origins, we need to pause. Not because the data isn't there, but because the language we're using to talk about the data is broken. In many of our communities, science is treated as a belief system, a political tool, or a collection of facts so you can cherry pick to support identity claims. That's not what science is. And until we fix that misunderstanding, every discussion downstream collapses. Science is not a collection of facts. One of the most common misconceptions is that science is a giant warehouse of facts, something you can pull from selectively to prove a point. In reality, science is a method, not a belief system. Again, science is a method, not a belief system. Far often we hear, you guys have a religion, you guys have your own belief system. No, Science is a method. Facts in science are always provisional. They are accepted not because they are comforting or empowering, but because they have survived repeated attempts to falsify them, not to prove them correct, but to prove it wrong. And the fact that it fails is why we accept these facts in science. Example of misusing science as a warehouse of facts. Now, cherry picking single studies. People will cite one paper that seems to support their claim while ignoring broader body of evidence. Example, this study shows vaccines cause X, while hundreds of higher qualified studies show no such effect. This genetic paper proves the Egyptians are this and this and this, while the paper itself say, do not make those apathetic statements. Cherry picking studies. Appeal to outdated science. Old findings are treated as if permanent truth, even after they're being revised or overturned. Example, using 19th century racial biology or early evolutionary misunderstandings as if modern genetics never happened. Caucasoid, Afrocoid, these type of terms. Fact dropping without context. Scientific terms or facts are thrown into arguments with no understanding of how they function within a theory. For example, quantum mechanics prove consciousness created reality using real physics words to justify metaphysical claims that the science itself does not support. You know how often we deal with these claims? I have to sit on panels and listen to people spew this stuff out, and they necessarily need to finish their diatribe while you can hear the errors in what they're saying. Let's continue. Okay. Equating fact with certainty. We heard that today. Shout out to Ashe. Ashe mentioned the hermaphrodite status of hyenas, which was pre-science, and biology came around and corrected that assumption. Scientific conclusions are portrayed as absolute truths rather than the best current models. Example, science was wrong before, so it can't be trusted now. Confusing revision with failure instead of progress. Again, science was wrong before, so it can't be trusted now. Confusing revision with failure instead of progress. Put a one in the chat if you've heard these claims being made before. Using conclusions without the method. Results are accepted when convenient and dismissed when inconvenient, ignoring how those results are produced. For example, accepting radiometric dating when it supports a preferred timeline. Now we know trees are 6,000 years old and this is 7,000 years old. We have that. And then how do you know the age of those fossils? We can't know that. But rejecting it when it contradicts religious chronology. Smuggling ideology into science. Race, 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 race. That's an ideology. It has no place in science. Scientific facts are selectively used to prop up political, religious, or spiritual beliefs. Example, claiming neuroscience proves the soul, while rejecting neuroscience finding that shows consciousness depends on brain function. Misunderstanding falsification. When a hypothesis is challenged, critics claim science is collapsing rather than recognizing that testing and correction are the point. Example, treating a revised climate model as evidence climate science is unreliable.
How we would look for a new law. In general, we look for a new law by the following sources. First, we guess it. Then we don't laugh, that's the really truth. Then we compute the consequences of the guess to see what, if this is right, if this law that we guess is right, we see what it would imply, and then we compare those computation results to compare it directly with observation to see if it works. If it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And that simple statement is the key to science. It doesn't make a difference how beautiful your guess is. It doesn't make a difference how smart you are who made the guess or what his name is. If it disagrees with experiment, wrong. That's all there is to it. Now,
The philosophical foundation of science. You see how easy it was for him to say once your hypothesis doesn't match up with testable predictions, it's simply wrong. End of story. We move on. Science rests on several philosophical assumptions, and none of them are optional. And none of them are optional. Methodological naturalism, my favorite two words. Science assumes that phenomena have natural causes, not because supernatural is disproven. Again, not because the supernatural is disproven, but because supernatural explanations are not testable. There will be no way to merge your spirituality, which is untestable, with science, which is testable. Science does not say nothing exists beyond nature. It says we cannot investigate it scientifically. That's it. That's where that discussion ends. Empiricism. Scientific claims must ultimately connect to observations, directly or indirectly. A claim that cannot be tested, measured, or constrained by evidence is not scientific, no matter how meaningful it feels. Science does not care about your feelings, unfortunately or fortunately. Falsifiability. A scientific claim must be capable of being wrong. Again, a scientific claim must be capable of being wrong. I assume that water will boil at 40 degrees. I will define boiling as a vapor coming from the water, and you can see agitation of the liquid, heavy agitation of the liquid. I put the water on, I add thermal energy, right? Because it's an endotherm reaction, and I measure. At 40 degrees Celsius, no reaction. My hypothesis has been falsified. Continue, the temperature goes up, and we see that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius if it is not demineralized. That's a story for another time. But that's how you falsify. Okay. Did the ancients mix science and religion? There's a common claim we hear all the time. Ancient civilization didn't separate science from religion. On the surface, this sounds sophisticated. It sounds historical. It sounds nuanced. But the statement hides a major assumption. It assumes that the ancients were practicing science. That's the first thing we need to slow down and examine. Because if science as a methodological institution did not yet exist, then the claim that they mixed with religion, that it was mixed with religions, becomes historically misleading. So, define science before we use the word. Before we project terms backwards into history, we need clarity. Modern science is characterized by methodological naturalism, systematic experimentation, replication and peer review, mathematical formalization, the proof needed, institutional skepticism, falsifiability, proper discerned that in 1959. What science isn't. Science is not simply observations. Science is not technical skill. Science is not pattern recognition. Science is a disciplined method of investigating natural causes under controlled standards. As historian of science Peter Harrison argues, the categories science and religion are distinct domains, are largely early modern invention. Harris, The Territories of Science and Religion, 2015. This is critical. If those categories didn't exist, they could not have been mixed. What the ancients actually practiced. Babylonian astronomy. Ankh went over this in detail over the last couple of days. Let's go through it quickly. Babylonian astronomy. The Babylonians meticulously recorded planetary movements and could predict eclipses. Impressive. But as historian Francesco Rochford explained, Babylonian astronomy was embedded within divination practices. So they had the observations, they were methodological in that part, but it was still not science. Celestial events were interpreted as omens tied to political and divine meaning. Rochberg, the Heavenly Writings, 2004, they identified patterns, yes, but they did not pursue mechanistic causal explanations in the way modern astrophysics does. That's a very important distinction, one that I made the other day, and Ashe, you protested, but yes, I was illustrating this pattern recognition. But the mechanisms, they weren't trying or at that point yet. Step before we get there. Pattern recognition embedded in Oman theology is not equivalent to physics. Egyptian engineering, again, a point I made. Ancient Egyptians used geometry. Manza, use geometry. Use geometry. You keep bringing this word mathematics as if they were doing quantum equations and measuring quantum flux and doing geometry. Managed large-scale construction, engineered pyramids, but there was no formal physics, no generalized theory of mechanics, no systematic experimental method. Their knowledge was practical, procedural, and traditional. As historian of science James Hannam note, ancient technical expertise should not be confused with scientific methodology. I keep saying science is a methodology. Mechanisms. Engineering skill does not equal theoretical science. What the ancients actually practiced. Let's continue. Greek natural philosophy. Greek thinkers moved closer. Aristotle attempted causal explanation and systematic characterization, but he rarely used controlled experiments. Theology, purpose-driven explanation dominated. Empirical testing was limited. Historians such as David Lindbergh emphasized that ancient natural philosophy differed fundamentally from modern science in method and epistemology. Lindbergh, The Beginning of Western Science, 2007. It was philosophy about nature, not yet science as a self-correcting institutional method. Now you can imagine my stickler for terminology when I hear science being thrown all around as if it isn't a formalized thing. There were processes, there's steps. It didn't happen in a vacuum. We are looking at the steps. It was developed. But at the point that we have it, you can no longer go and retrofit our modern definition of science onto an ancient practices. That again is anachronistic. It's a category error. So the claim ancient mixed science and religion commits a category mistake. It retroactively applies a modern concept to a pre-modern epistemic world. There was no institutionalized peer review, experimental standardization, formal separation of natural versus supernatural causation. You cannot separate two categories that have not yet formed a distinct domains, formed as distinct domains. So the conversation for me is like, oh, no, we like, why are we having this conversation? Let's look at what they did practical. Let's look at where methodology and these things were started, and let us see what they actually did instead of applying the word science in its broad sense to the ancient people as if we're making this equation with it's not done. Science did not exist as a discrete discipline, as a discrete discipline in ancient Egypt, Babylon, or early Greece. What exists was a mythic cosmology, ritual practice, practical craft knowledge, natural philosophy. These are not failed versions of science. Again, they are not failed versions of science. They are different knowledge systems entirely. These systems were not producing what we needed. So human nature, we continue to develop until we develop modern science. And in that process, we had to deal with race science and all of these things until we got to where we got now: peer review, self-correction, etc. The real historical development, a more accurate trajectory: mythic cosmology, Mesopotamia, Egypt, early cultures; natural philosophy, Greece, India, China; medieval scholastic synthesis, the scientific revolution in the 16th and the 17th century; institutional modern science. Historians such as Stephen Shapin argue that what we call science emerged during the early modern period as a socially organized, method-driven activity. The separation of science and theology was gradual and institutional, not something that existed in the Bronze Age and later split. The separation of science and theology was gradual and institutional, not something that existed in the Bronze Age and later split. So, can we stop having this discussion, put things in its proper context and its proper historical perspective, and not retrofitting our modern ideas onto our ancient ancestors? So why does this matter in our community? When people say the ancient Egyptians were scientists, spirituality was their science, quantum physics proved ancient metaphysics, science was always spiritual, they collapse critical distinctions. Observation isn't science. Ritual cosmology isn't astrophysics. Craft knowledge isn't experimental methodology. Symbolism isn't mechanism. If we blur these lines, we destroy historical precision. And said, talk, well, this is what we're about: intellectual precision. And I know I'm a stickler for these things, but it is necessary, because we're having these conversations in vacuums as if we do not know what science is. And if you know what science is, this methodology, this institution, how can you retrofit it? That retrofitting then becomes an emotional outburst. So the right framing, instead of saying ancient didn't separate science and religion, a more accurate statement is ancient cultures embedded observation and technical knowledge within mythological and theological worldviews. Modern science emerged much later as a distinct methodological institution that's historically responsible, that's philosophically grounded, and that's how we protect science from misuse. That is our ultimate objective here. I am glad again that we are all into sciences. It took us years to get here, but we are here. But we need to protect the institution, not gatekeep, but ensure that the next generation doesn't come with flawed ideas that need to be corrected, wasting time. We need to prepare our students to skip the first 2 years of college and go into postgraduate education by them coming prepared, knowing these foundations solid and correct. Let's continue. What science can do. Science is extraordinarily powerful, but only within its domain. Science can identify patterns. Epidemiology finds patterns in disease spread, right? We look at vectors, right? This particular disease, how is it spread? What is the vector? In that vector, is there demographics that we need to look at? Is there a particular age group that becomes more susceptible, etc.? Climate science detect long-term temperature trends. Genetics reveals inheritance patterns across populations. Another pet peeve of mine, which we will get into. Model natural processes. Physics models planetary motion. Biology models how populations evolve over time. Meteorology models hurricane formation. Models aren't reality. They are tools that approximate it, right? That's why certain models become more difficult to create, the abiogenesis. Why? It is extremely difficult to model the early conditions of Earth's atmosphere, right? So that's one of the constraints, which makes it a very theoretical based process, laboratory based process, because we cannot recreate those conditions, or very difficult. What can science do? Explains mechanisms. Germ theory explains how infections spread. Neuroscience explains how brain damage affects behavior. Plate tectonics explains how earthquakes occur. Explanation isn't purpose. Again, an explanation doesn't mean there's a purpose. Make probabilistic predictions. What science does not do is provide certainty, meaning, or identity validation. Or identity validation. Weather forecasts give likelihood, not guarantee. Medical risk assessments estimate chances, not outcome. Evolutionary models predict trait frequency changes, not specific individual predictions, not specific individuals. Predictions is statistical, not prophetic. Again, evolutionary models predict trait frequency changes, not specific individual predictions, not specific individuals. Predictions is statistical, not prophetic. What science cannot do, it cannot tell you what ought to be. That's a moral issue. It's not a scientific one. Science explains reality, what it is, how it is, and and probabilistic based on what could be the result hereof. It doesn't talk about odds. It doesn't validate cultural pride. Again, it doesn't validate cultural pride. Science is universal. I do not care if it is a Chinese, a Japanese, a Russian, African American. It is science. It is information added to our collective understanding of the planet that we share. I take pride in the science itself. Assign moral value doesn't do that either. Confirm metaphysical beliefs. Far too often, I'm asked this question. Listen, man, you don't need science to justify your beliefs. Why are you attempting to use science, which makes no claim about the metaphysical or the supernatural? Why? Ask yourself. Okay. When we ask science to do these things, we distort both science and the conversation. Scientific discipline and its constraints. Science is conservative by design. It's not a gatekeeping thing. New claims require extraordinary levels of evidence, replication, and scrutiny. Terrence Howard, Ashe, you can't just come with a new claim and you do. That requires extraordinary levels of evidence. That's why the people that are engaging and putting new knowledge into the world are not the ones doing this type of program, because they are providing the extraordinary levels of evidence. They are preparing and producing the replications necessary. Peer review is scrutinizing every piece of word that they write. They go back again. They don't have time to be out here arguing with people who don't have the basic understanding. They simply don't. This is not gatekeeping, it is quality control. As one of the jobs that you do as a lab tech, right, is quality control. Your analysis need to meet two criteria. It needs to meet precision and accuracy. So not only does it need to be within the scope, we measure the precision and the accuracy. Right, quality control. We set up standards. We run standards that we know the concentration of, to allow us to determine if the machines are working accurate, and if necessary, if they need to be calibrated. Why? Because I am measuring microns in your blood. I am measuring the concentration of sodium in your blood, right? And these numbers need to be accurate. So it is quality control. Why is that necessary? Because your life depends on it. That's why I do not play around. That's why I am strict about methodology. And nope, you can't say that. Nope, you can't do that. No. Personal convictions, I don't care. Your intuition, that's where you start with your guess. Remember the little video? Your intuition is your guess. But there is a whole process after that guess. And if your intuition is all you are going on, you are not engaging in moving the scientific discourse forward. You're not engaging in elevating the level of conversation. You are creating confusion. All historical grievances do not lower the evidentiary bar. White man did this, and white man did that, and white man did it, and white man did it, the white man. I do not care. I simply don't care. Not in this conversation. You see how you need to make that switch? Not in this conversation. Let me give you an example. Helicobacter pylori and the stomach ulcers. This is it was while I was working in the lab 20 years ago, we started to introduce this specific test. So the science was done, and I was at the end part when it was introduced into clinical setting. Initially rejection. For most of the 20th century, stomach ulcers were believed to be caused by stress, spicy food, excessive stomach acid. The idea that bacteria could survive in the acidic environment of the stomach was considered impossible. When Australian physician Barry Marshall and Robert Warren proposed in the early 1980s that Helicobacter pylori caused ulcers, the medical community rejected the hypothesis because it contradicted established physiology. There was no accepted mechanism. Correlation alone wasn't enough. Skepticism was justified. Two researchers. Go come back. Not enough. Evidence accumulates. Over time, multiple lines of evidence emerged. Helicobacter pylori was consistently found in ulcer patients. Now we have the testing for it. We got ulcer patients. You know what? We're going to screen those ulcer patients, and we're collecting the data. Up, yep, the bacteria is present here and alive. Up, we got it growing again. Boom, up, nuts paper. Up, boom, boom. Now we're going to further the experiment. Antibiotic treatment cured ulcers, and prevented reoccurrence. Antibiotics kills the Helicobacter. Once the Helicobacter is there, ulcer cures. More treatment. There we go. Controlled clinical trials uh, replicated the results. So antibiotics, this gave me my hypothesis. Now we're going to go into experimentation, and we know how clinical trials are done. Blind study is conducted, placebo is given, a group A, group B, and neither researcher nor patient actually knows who is getting what, right? A clear mechanism is identified. The bacteria neutralizing stomach acid locally using Eurasia. Marshall famously ingested the bacteria himself, developed gastritis, and then cured it with antibiotics. Dramatic, but still not sufficient on its own. What mattered was replication, not heroics. Acceptance. By the 1990s, the medical consensus shifted. Ulcers were reclassified as an infectious disease, not a stress disorder. So ulcers now are caused by a bacteria. Fact, it is an infectious disease. In 2005, you see, now 2005, Marshall and Warren received the Nobel Peace Prize in Physiology and Medicine. And let me see, when I was in the lab, came back 2000, and by 2000 and by 2004 we were starting. By 2003 we were already doing. It was already within the clinical setting as a diagnostic tool for Helicobacter. How this is done? It is not done with whole blood in the normal sense. Blood stool sample is taken, and from the stool sample, culture is made. And if you have Helicobacter in the culture, all right, which is done from stool, we can determine if you are positive for Helicobacter pylori bacteria in your stomach. What goes wrong without academic discipline? All right. A common failure mode, especially outside academic training, is the assumption that the rules are flexible. My young brothers, Bomb Squad, no, it's not. No, it's not. This is a conservative arena. Flashy, fast, bop, bop, hip, boop, bop, doesn't work. You don't have room to make it up. You can't interject your own terms. You can't play with it. It's just not done. And once we understand that, I think you guys will be on the good path, right? You'll get there. But these things are unnegotiable. The scientific language, that scientific language is suggestive. Definitions are negotiable, and rigor is optional. No, 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 no. This leads to confusion, not clarity. And this is what we see on the panels, right? Confusion, not clarity. Terms with strict meaning are casually redefined mid-discussion. Science, science, African science, ancient science, our science. Slow down. Whoa, 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 whoa. Put the brakes on. I don't have a clue what you're talking about. I don't know what you mean. Well, but they were highly melanated. They were black. What? I don't know what you mean. Slow down. Africans are interchangeable with black, sub-Saharan, indigenous, or melanated. What? How? What does this mean? These terms are ambiguous. They're not scientific. They don't say nothing. Indigenous redefined to mean original everywhere rather than population continuity. FBA, ABO. What? Science. Sketch. Stretched to include mythology, symbolism, oral traditions, or intuition. Zion, Manza, Asa. Can't. We simply can't. And this is where we bump heads every single time. And we're going to continue to bump heads because these things are non negotiable. People talk past each other while believing they made a scientific point. We're having a whole conversation built on flawed premise. A, the ancients were practicing science. How? I don't know. And that the symbolisms and these things are scientific. Huh? What? That we can attach spirituality to science. We had sunscreen. That's a shout out to Moses. We kept asking for a clear mechanism based on understanding what science is, what it can and what it can't do. And we were taken all around the world, even to the point that nouns, the use of mythological nouns, became evidence of a connection. A connection to what? What goes wrong without academic discipline? Let's continue. Using colloquial language where precision is required. Oh, oh, oh. And maybe it's because of my particular field where we analyze quantitative analysis. I do a lot of quantitative analysis. So a gram versus a kilogram, a microgram versus a milligram, two numbers after the comma or three after the comma. These are things that make a huge difference. So precision is required when we're having these discussions. Everyday speech replaces technical clarity. Examples. They were the first humans. When the claim actually means early contributors. This proved Africans built everything, where evidence only suggests contact or influence. DNA shows we were everywhere, confusing haplogroup spread with population dominance. Oh boy. In science, loose language is false conclusion. Again, when you use loose language, you reach to a false conclusion. Conversation is everywhere, and nobody understands what we're talking about. I get lost sometimes. Like, what? That don't even make what? Oversimplifying complex systems. Highly technical fields get flattened into slogans. Then genetics reduced to skin color. Haplogroups treated as racial markers. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, cultural diffusion confused with biological ancestry. Mm, 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 mm. So that's it, Brother Reggie. Civilizations equated to monuments. Where you have the hardest rock is where you build permanent structures. Just saying. You ain't gonna do it in the sand, nor in the mud. You do it in the rock. Just saying. This is how E1B1 mitochondrial DNA or Y chromosome data gets turned into racial talking points instead of population history. I understand, especially in the climate that we are now, race is a big thing, especially here in the West. But when we are engaging in scientific conversations, you should never try to use race and use science to prove race. Use biology to prove race. You can never use biology to prove race. Haplogroups. E1, B1 means that. Slow the conversation down. First, understand what this actually means, how it is applied, and what it can say. Selective skepticism. Academic methods are rejected only when conclusions are uncomfortable. Accepting genetic when it supports African primacy. Rejecting the same genetics when it shows admixture, migration, or continuity outside of Africa. One with greatest genetic diversity, yet do not accept admixture. Got a problem with migration. Everybody's African. Everybody's black. What does that mean? Trusting archaeology until it contradicts nationalistic narratives. Abels, this is not critical thinking. It is outcome shopping. Mistaken empowerment for evidence. Historical trauma and cultural erasure are real. But they do not function as that. I'm gonna say it again. I know this is a tough one. Historical trauma and cultural erasure are real, but they do not function as data. Feeling erased isn't equal to being scientifically erased. Oppression isn't proof. Pride isn't peer review. Science does not validate claims because they feel corrective. You cannot engage in a scientific discourse and your objective is to change how we feel about a particular term that is not scientific. Why misusing science creates chaos? When science is misunderstood, we see predictable failures, right? Evolution treated as individual transformation. Genetics reduced to skin color. Haplogroups treated as racial essence. History rewritten to fit modern identity frameworks. These aren't separate problems. They're the same mistake repeating itself in different forms. So let's look. Evolution treated as an individual individual transformation. If Africans migrated into colder climates, their skin turned lighter over time. This treats evolution as if a person moved to Europe, their body adapts during their lifetime. They gradually become lighter. That's Lamarckian inheritance, not modern evolutionary biology. What evolution actually says. Genetic variation already exists in a population. There is no singular, there's no homogeneous, monogeneous population ever. Never did. Genetic variation already exists in a population. Environmental pressures affect reproductive success. So you already have that variety within that one group you talk about. Within that one group, you already have the genetic variety. There's not a one-on-one reproduction. That is going to have effect based on the environmental pressures. Over many generations, allele frequencies shift. No individual transforms. Again, no individual transform. Populations shift statistically. Put a one in the chat if you don't understand that. And if I need to break this point down 10 times, I will. Because we're not going to get nowhere unless we understand this. When evolution is framed as personal transformation, it makes race seem biologically fluid in a simplistic way, encourages essentialist narratives about original forms, distort how adaptation actually works. You hear the narratives as if people are seeing this singular phenotype, this singular entity, this one thing. They talk about skull morphology as if within a particular group, you don't have a wide range. And within those ranges, you have overlap with other population. It is not cut and dry. It is not boxed off. Highly melanated equals original genetics. The darkest people are the most genetically pure. Take a sip on that one. These are the things we hear in the community. This reduces 3+ billion base pairs, tens of thousands of genes, massive genomic diversity down to pigmentation genes like the SLC24, A5, the SLC45, the MR1, etc. No, 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 no. What genetic actually shows? Skin color involves a small subset of genes. Two dark skin populations can genetically very distinct, can be genetically very distinct. Two light skin populations can be genetically distinct. Most human variation exists within Africa. For example, West African and East African are often more genetically different from each other than there is from some non-African populations. Skin color doesn't equal genetic ancestry. West Africans and East Africans are often more genetically different from each other than either is from some non-African populations. Let that sink in for a second. So why does it matter? Reducing genetics to melanin reinforces race as a biological category, obscures real population history, and encourages phenotypic exceptionalism. Yeah, they look at shit. Well, black, and they look black, and black and black. But East Africans and West African are genetically different from each other. Haplogroups treated as racial essence. Haplogroup E proves all true Africans descend from one original black lineage. If someone has R1B, they are European by race. Oh my God. Problem. Y DNA tracks only your paternal line, your daddy. Mitochondrial DNA tracks only your maternal line, your mommy. That's two lines out of thousands of ancestral lines. Two lines. For each one of those individuals, two more lines. For each one of those individuals, two more lines, and two more lines, and two more lines. You have 1,024 ancestors. By 10 generations back, you have 1,024 ancestors. Y DNA represents one of them. One, and only one aspect, not all the different coming in, but to produce that offspring. That offspring is different from its parent, from its father, from its mother, and so on and so on. What are you saying when you're looking at these haplogroup? What you think you're looking at? Haplogroup E is found in North Africa, East Africa, West Africa. R1b is found in Africa as well. Haplogroups predate modern racial categories by tens of thousands of years. We keep saying these things over and over, but somehow the conversation always ends back up here trying to prove race with haplogroups. Haplogroups become why it matters. Haplogroups become atomic identity markers, racial essence symbols, simplified genetic flags, but in reality, they are markers of deep time lineage branching, not racial containers. Ironically, this mirrors white supremacists' misuse of R1b or R1a. Haven't I said it before? These conversations are KKK in blackface. Same essence. We are so racialized that we don't even understand what we're doing. We complain about our ancestors and the climate that they were in and how they were becoming pseudo because they were fighting the racism with racism, and we do the same thing today. You can't beat racism with more racism. Science is the tool to get us away from these misguided ideas. Evolution treated as individual transformation. The error. Evolution is described as something that happens to individuals. Examples: Africans evolved into Europeans. People evolved lighter skin when they moved north. A population changed because they needed to survive. Why this is wrong? Evolution does not operate at the level of individuals or intent. Individuals do not evolve. Needs, effort, or environment do not cause traits to appear. Evolution has no direction or goal. This is Lamarckian thinking abandoned over a century ago. Accurate account. Evolution operates on populations over generations through random mutations, differential reproductive success. So your ability, your fitness to produce viable offspring in a particular environment, those offspring not only need to be viable, they need to be able to reach the age of reproduction. That's their viability. And then successfully pass on those genes. People need to be having sex. That's how you get evolution. But people having sex. Genetic drift, selections acts on existing variations. Those existing variations, the environmental pressures are going to act on all those variations. Some variations will cease to exist, some variations will thrive, and those variations that cease to exist, those that thrive, become the dominant allele group over time in the population. Trade spreads because carriers reproduce more, not because anyone adapts on demand. Without sex, we ain't having this conversation. Genetics reduce the skin color. The error. Genetic ancestry is collapsed into visible phenotypes. Example: dark skin is African DNA. Boom, done. End the discussion, party over, let's go home. Lighter skin, European ancestry. They don't look African, so they aren't. Those are Arab invaders. Those are Arab invaders. Not they're not African. They ain't black. They don't fit within that five race picture. They ain't African. So why is this wrong? Skin color is controlled by a small number of genes. Strong environmental selection, UV radiation, convergent evolution. Populations can share skin tones without sharing close ancestry. How about that? So then people over in Mesopotamia, because of the strong environmental selection by the UVB radiation in that general area, can produce people that share a skin tone but are not necessarily genetically related. How about that? So they don't need to be invaders. They could just share that phenotype, that skin tone, based on the environment, the zone that they share geographically. The accurate account, skin pigmentation is an adaptive trait, not a lineage marker. Similar pigmentation evolved independently in Africa, South Asia, Melanesia, and Australia. See, developed independently based on the environment. So it's not that they took their blackness from Africa, kept it safe in a bag, and took it there. Evolution happens in the environments that you're in. Lay the skin map over these areas, and we will come to some conclusion about skin tone and how the environment plays a predominant role in that. Most genetic variation exists within populations, not between them. Haplogroups treated as racial essence. There we go. Last one. Uniparental markers are treated as racial or civilizational identity. For example, E1B1 proves African founded everything. R1B means European. This haplogroup defines who you really are. Haplogroups track one paternal lineage, Y-DNA, or one maternal lineage, mitochondrial DNA. This is one ancestor out of a thousand. They do not describe overall ancestry, culture, appearance, and civilization. They don't. You are going to find a genetic makeup from a particular individual that would mean he is supposed to be from somewhere else or be somewhere else. You would assume by the genetics that they speak a particular language. Again, false analogy. You would determine because you see a particular genetic group that they have this particular culture. You cannot make these statements. Haplogroups are population history tools, not racial categories. They show migration patterns, bottlenecks, and drift. Every human population contains multiple haplogroups. Like how you take a haplogroup and define a population by it. That's crazy. They explain movement, not identity. History written to fit modern identity framework. Ancient populations are retrofitted into modern racial or political categories. For example, ancient Egyptians labeled black or white. Greeks, Romans, or Hebrew assigned modern racial identities. Hebrews are black. Greeks and Romans are white, European. Civilizations claimed as racial property. Asian people did not think in modern racial terms. There's only so many times we can say this. There there is some black that we do not get this. Organized identities around language, culture, kinship, and geography lived in worlds shaped by constant migration and interaction. Projecting modern identities backward distorts evidence and it's anachronistic. Mess up the story. The accurate account. History is reconstructed using archaeology, text, linguistic, and genetics. Ancient populations are contextual, regional, and fluid. That fluidity must be in your lexicon or in your frame of reference. These rigid blocks that you create in your head do not exist. Identity must be understood on their terms, not ours. Accuracy requires resisting present day agendas. Our feelings need to be left at the door if we are going to engage in this type of discourse or in these arenas. Your emotions will always lead you astray. When science is treated as symbolic language instead of a constrained method, it stops explaining reality and starts serving ideology. Far too often on these platforms, that is what we end up fighting: ideology, the misuse of science because it is underpinned by ideology. And I've always said if you engage with any subject based on your ideology, you are always going to end up wrong. The information will not agree with you, and you will go left because your ideology makes you engage with confirmation bias. If this episode's challenge some assumptions, that's not a failure of understanding. That's the beginning of it. Set talk isn't about instant agreement. It's about slowing the conversation down enough to ask better questions. In the next episode, we'll build directly on this foundation and tackle one of the most misunderstood concepts in modern discourse: evolution. What it actually is, how it works at a population level, and why misunderstanding creates so many downstream errors in genetics, history, and identity. And with that, folks, I thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found value here engaging with this material, challenge it, test it, and share it with someone who is willing to do the same. And with that, thank you for listening to me. And let's open up the floodgates because I know they're gonna be coming at me hard.
Yes, indeed, man. We're gonna shout out some of the supporters and some of the people coming in the building, man. I think Alex PK Keaton, man. What's up, man? Welcome. Gullah, man. Pseudo killer officials in the building, man. See Sosa in the building. We got Suntan all the way over from the land. You know what I mean? We see you in the building, bro.
Mhm.
Who else we got, man? We got 7K. Man, I ain't about to say all the numbers and the letters you got in your name, but what's up with your 7K? You know what I'm saying? Bar Reloaded, man. Seeing y'all in the building, man. Y'all jump on that panel too, man, if y'all can, man. The objective perspective. What's happening with you? NA Flash TV. What's happening with you? Uh yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and share this link, man. I know it's something I might have forgot, but Sunchild, what's up, boy? I ain't seen you in a little minute, man. What's going
Sunshine
on?
in a bit.
Glad to have you back in the right place to be. You feel me? Uh, keep on watching or join the panel. Either way. Free minded me. What's happening with you? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share that link real quick though, man. Y'all jump on if y'all want to holler at 'em. Yeah, good
Holla at your
presentation though,
boy.
Sid. That was a pretty good presentation, Sid. You know what I'm
I
saying?
appreciate it.
You put a lot of information out there, man. Hold on a second. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the ones, man. Sometimes you might have to go back and listen to it again. You know what I'm saying? Pause, look up some of the things he said or whatever. You know what I mean? And let's all learn together, man. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, if y'all
Yeah,
want to get
I
on
think it's a
what
yeah, I think it's a good piece of material, right? I think to slow it down, go back, look at it. Uh, There might be some points that you disagree. There might be some points that you understand why it is essential that we frame the dialogue with the correct terminologies and the correct frame of reference, right? When we dive in there with a bag of race over your shoulder, it makes the conversation difficult because you're looking to confirm or to prove something. You know what I mean? And that makes it and that creates the confusion, right? So I've
Right,
seen
right.
that. And yeah, let me start addressing it, slowing the conversation down a little bit. We hear haplogroups being thrown all over the place and in the wrong context. Like, well, no, what? Right?
Yeah.
So
Man,
yeah,
we got Sabio the spell bonder in the building. What's up, Sabio?
Actually, it's the spell breaker. What up,
Oh, my
King?
bad. My bad. I misread that. What's going on, man? The spell breaker. My bad. She was handing no dog. You good?
Yeah, I'm chilling. Shout out to Zed. What's crazy is throughout that whole presentation, and I really didn't catch it all, but I did catch the ending of it. But what I did catch, it seems like people are going to continue to make the mistake and try to place race back in antiquity.
Right, right.
They're going to continue to try to force this idea because people were melanated. They had this racial category called black as
yeah,
if
yeah. But
that
the whole presentation was about science and itself, what you can do with science, what are the parameters, what are the constraints, and how in a lot of these conversations, science is being misused or misappropriated. Terminologies are being loosely used, right? So it creates confusion instead of clarity. So this whole presentation was about putting the guardrails on, defining the terms of engagement, uh, uh, providing an overview of what science can and cannot do, right? Um, Far too often, the conversations seem scientific, like one of the points. The ancients didn't separate their science from their religion. Wait a minute, did the ancients have science?
absolutely not.
We make we'll slow the conversation down. What is science, right? And there are processes that lead up to what we have today, but observations is one of the tools of science. But observation in itself isn't science, right? So let's slow the conversation down. What did they have? How did they use it? All right, and let's put things in its proper perspective. If you're assuming that they had science before, then the notion of us splitting religion from science becomes a thing. Science was never split from religion.
Mm-mm.
Science was developed on its own, right? And it stopped engaging in
Fight of
supernatural.
science was
Yes,
developed fight of religion.
yes. That's no excuse.
All right,
They were black. Knock it off.
yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's it.
yeah. There was
Got
some
a
chat.
little
Yeah, yeah.
got a little pushback from the brother Sunchild, man. He said everything is a social
Hey, listen.
construct. That's no excuse, they was
Sunshine
saying.
ain't pushing back. He's pushing me all the way down, bro. How you gonna argue with that?
Nobody said anything
Oh,
about a
man.
social construct. You see,
Man,
Shout
hit
out
that
to Heru
sun.
Consciousness.
Oh yeah,
Shout
what's
out to
up, hey?
Heru Consciousness, my brother. How you doing?
Yeah, what's up, hey, Rube, man? He said outstanding presentation, man.
Appreciate it.
I think we had Suntan said something in here earlier, man. I was trying to go back and find it. Suntan, if you hear me, man, go ahead jump on the panel, man. Whatever you was trying to say earlier, yo. But yeah, man. Man, we going just to let y'all know we gonna be doing these every Wednesday, man. You know, this is gonna
Yeah.
be every week thing, man. We're gonna try to stay consistent with it. So this and many more other shows to come. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir. Yes,
Just
sir.
stay tuned. You know what I mean? If you ain't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, like the show. You know what I mean? And get us in your algorithm. You feel me?
So share the
And
show.
then
Bring your kids. Bring your kids around because I think our shows. We're trying to get to the babies. We're trying to not condition the mind, but give the tools to allow the minds of our youngsters develop in the right direction, so that we do have a scientific based future, right? So bring your kids. This is a show that they can share with their friends. They can start discussions about it, and of course, you yourself challenge your thought process every time you think about doing the lookership or trying to do the race thing. Challenge yourself to engage with the information on its own merits.
Right,
I don't
right.
think I don't think they're I don't think a lot of people are really ready to do that because they have built up these ideas in their head that everything had to be black, and because everything has melanin and melanin is associated with blackness, then everything starts with black. So everything is black. And at that point you can't ask yourself the proper questions to challenge anything.
You know who I blame for spreading that, man, amongst the black community recently, yo. Well, first, Hidden Colors, but Renuko Rashidi is one of the first ones I said I heard say, it's black people all over all over the world, all over the earth. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And he started pointing at like say like the Adam and East people type people.
Yep,
Like anybody that had dark skin, according to Renuko Rashidi, was black.
yep,
You know what I'm saying? And he was one of them ones where when you check him on it, because I had him on my friends list, man, he deleted me a long time ago because I got at him about something. They had this arrogance about him that when you check them on it, they like to just try to brush you off and shit. But I blame him for a lot
Yeah.
of that. Rest in peace to
Yeah.
Renuko.
So they create an aura of supremacy, right? So they would come on the platforms and then they would tell you, I'm not here to debate, I'm here to teach. You can do what you want with the information. So they refuse to be challenged on their positions, right? And then they speak with such a quote unquote authoritative nature that you have those people who are susceptible, right? People are coming into quote unquote knowledge of self from different aspects. And if you are not scientifically grounded, and this is the information you're first presented with, it is very feel good information, right? Damn, you mean Africans, like West Central Africans, we were in Sri Lanka, we did all that, man. You mean we the ones that built these civilizations in India, like my ancestors? Oh, so it's not just the transatlantic slave trade. We were kings and queens all over the world. Like that's some feel good rhetoric.
Sunchild said we can call other people black without thinking we're directly related. But think about it like this though, Sunchild. What if they don't call themselves black? Then what? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if that whole group of people that we might say, oh, they look like us because they have similar phenotypes, being that we in similar environments. You know what I'm saying? Because the environment is what give us our features. What if they don't even call them? They don't even know what black is. You know what I'm saying? Or those people or whatever in those
So I
countries or
I
whatever.
just
Why would
I
we?
just
Why would we label them black?
yeah, in a conversation I say, well, my black friend, and I keep it moving. Um, all you can do with that information is quantify it based on your prepackaged idea. You
at
have
that
no idea what I mean. You have no idea what this individual looks like. You have no idea where the individual is from. All you have in your head is 100 shades of black, from Mariah Carey to pitch black. from every hair texture, from every like you cannot put a picture to that conversation when I say my friend Jerry Black.
So when we do that to other people who don't consider themselves black, we're disrespecting them and how they have always looked at themselves. So when we force them into what we will consider an Afrocentric paradigm, trying to be Afrocentric,
Hmm.
we are actually disrespecting their own heritage, culture, history, all that. Why? Because those people over on the Adam and Eve Island or over in Arabia or India with dark skin, with melanated skin, who don't call themselves black, who don't associate with black,
Right.
then that's what we're forcing them into a paradigm and an idea that doesn't fit them because we want them to be something they're not.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, there's other populations that have their own social constructs. We have our social constructs. We call each other black, say African American, so on and so forth. Um, there's other countries where black don't even mean what me and you look like, say, or what
Yeah.
Sabio. You know what I'm saying? It might be something totally different, what I'm saying,
Totally different.
feature wise.
Like
Matter of fact, I think
depends.
you were saying the other day, what was that country where they call
Georgia,
yeah, they
in
call black
Russia,
people,
yeah,
yeah, they
in
have black
Russia,
people, but the black people don't look like the black people we know.
yeah, Georgians are white people. That they are known as black, right? In Russian context, those are black people, right? But they're Georgians, so they're European. Black doesn't necessarily have anything to do with their skin tone, right? Uh, in the Caribbean, my island, for example, black means your skin color and also culture. So we will say that dude black. And what we mean is culturally, he is local. He was born right here. Don't look at his phenotype. Culturally, he is one of us. So black, like on this island, black is not only physical color, but it's culture. So you could mess up and call the wrong person white, and they look at you like, Miss Son, who you calling white? I'm from here. Don't call me white. I'm not white because
Yeah.
white is not skin color. White is culture. White is America. Like, you see? So when you use those terms, they are so ambiguous because it literally can mean anything to whoever you're talking to.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Miss Felicia.
Yeah, appreciate you,
Appreciate,
Miss Lisa, man. You always come through with the love, yo. Appreciate you.
appreciate you.
Yes,
So
indeed.
yeah, man. See,
Yeah,
when we
I'm
have
laughing at that. That's hella funny.
when you slow the conversation down like this, you see the clarity that's created. There ain't much questions.
True indeed,
My
man. We
good
got
brother Grant, how you doing? Nice to see you again.
got Grant in
Yes.
the building. What's happening, man? Appreciate you coming on, bro. What's on
Yeah,
your
I'm doing
mind?
wonderful. Yeah, thanks for having me. Absolute pure cinema, Cedric. Absolutely a great presentation.
Thank
It
you.
just, I think I almost teared up. I was like, it's extraordinary. I don't think people understand how in sort of breaking down exactly what it means to sort of think scientifically and logically and stripping away I think some of the woo woo out of how we talk about race. I mean, even now we're having this conversation about black, and um, as you can see, for some, I'm obviously fair, and to whatever extent that means, correct. Um, and some will just say I'm not black or I'm not black enough, correct. And so, in essence, it's a moving target, just depending on whatever you want. It's undefining, and it's even less defining of people who weren't taken from their land and just put in a different world and don't have any national ethnic grouping that they can just sort of attach to. And so I think one of the problems we end up with is, sure, you want to be part of a larger group that shares what your perceived skin tone or skin category is, but it isn't necessary, correct? I think the problem what we're trying to do is sort of broaden the tent while also keeping it close. people are all these people are black except when we no longer need them to be part of it, and we become insular, and then we just sort of open the branch, the tent wide enough to capture as many people.
They're
So
black until the reparations conversation comes into play.
yeah,
That's when they stop being black.
yes, and I think the other I think the bigger, I think it's harder to touch on this issue in sort of listening to you earlier, was as you were breaking down how haphazardly we use race, sort of often immediately going to Egypt or Kemet, correct? You can love all of those things, and you can have a considerable amount of respect for what they did. However, you would never find a Nigerian who's like, we're the same as Ethiopians. Like, it would never happen. It would the sun will die before that happens, correct? Like that
Hell
before that, it would never happen.
yeah.
And
Never.
and we have to remember the same people making the claim, the same people who are making the claim about, well, you're using um, you're using white science, correct? But in essence, no one was using Africa before the Europeans came up with it, and you weren't using black before the Europeans just sort of labeled it as a racial construct. Just because the word black was being used doesn't mean that black was being used in a racial construct at the time. And in essence, they used these ones at a time as like, oh, he had dark skin, therefore he was black. And since black is now black, all these people were black in the sense of American black or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So the description of someone's skin tone, we were not blind, and we would use the physical features to describe each other.
Mhm.
However, black, as in terms of you're different, you're other, that is your race. That's your
Yes.
no. These people were depicted as dark, but they had a name because they come from a particular culture. They had a particular language, and that's how you identify them, right? This black, this racializing, and people don't know what that means. It is eliminating your culture. It is taking away your identity. It is painting with a broad brush over a whole group of people to simplify the idea for someone that was not interested in knowing who or what these particular groups of people were. They weren't interested. And now contrast that to whiteness in Europe. Aristocrats were white.
Yep.
The Americas, the common man came white to make himself equal to royalty in Europe. It is only a status thing. In Europe, white people were the aristocrats. They would paint themselves white
Yes.
with powder to distinguish themselves from the commoner.
Yes.
Europeans, the common European made himself white in the Americas to achieve aristocrat status. Us holding on to black as an expression of who we are, every time we do that, we solidify white supremacy. Regardless of how we've taken it and making it this, and I'm black and I'm proud. I say black, but I do understand every time I identify as that, I am putting myself within that social hierarchy because I know for a fact all of these Europeans over here in Europe are not white. You know
No.
who's white? Prince, what's his name? King of England,
Yeah.
Koning van Nederland, what's his name? Willem Alexander.
Yes.
He is white.
Yes,
His citizens
are
in
not.
his country are not white.
They do not consider that. And I would I would tell everyone the reason Italians love Columbus Day is because it allows for them to be a conqueror. In essence, the Columbus Day is to prove that they too are capable of taking land from other people. Hence why I need to be part of this white group. Because Italians were there sitting there going, how can we jump into this wonderful world called whiteness? And they came up with Columbus, who technically was only from an area that is now known as Italy. It wasn't
Mhm.
Italy at the time.
No, Genoa wasn't Italy.
The state of the country of Italy did not exist until after the United States. So for those who don't know, so he was just from a region that is now part of Italy. They were like, well, he's Italian, something yada yada yada. Who cares? We're not going to get into this. And he was sent by a non-Italian government. Again, move that away. Who gives a shit? Correct? Yada yada yada. They
He's
they wiped,
ours.
they they wiped off all those things. They're like, yeah. You don't care. I don't care. I'm not going to get into the details. He's Italian. Yes, I'm pretty sure he ate fucking spaghetti. Yada yada yada. Hence why we need Columbus Day, because we are just as good as conquering land as the people who are now white. And the moment that people start challenging it, like, hey, maybe Columbus wasn't that good of a guy, they're like, you have to remember he conquered. Therefore, we can still be part of the club. We need it. We
Yes,
love it.
yes, we need to be
We
part
have
of
to
the
be.
European supremacy that ruled the Caribbean seas. We
And
were
this is,
there too.
but also that pathology comes along when you see Black Americans are like, well, Africans came here first. Okay, but you still have this problem. Conquering is not the thing that you should be so proud of.
Proud
Why
of, like,
is conquering other people like the thing that you want to hold on to? Is because you need to
because
find it gives value.
history, yes,
Yes,
history
it perceives
portrays
as
it
a
as greatness. Alexander the Great. But we don't understand that empire formation means people die.
well, also what make
People
I
get
always tease I make this wonderful well, people say this is like, you know, look at that queen. And I know this is just vernacular that we use, but I always remind everyone, you are not a king and you are not a queen, because
no.
kings and queens were never benevolent. They never viewed you as someone that was part of their court. Africa was not some utopia where the kings were like, hey, we're going to share this wealth. Like, we're going to share it. I'm a king, you're a king, we all kings, someone else is a king. We gotta be all kings, and you're a queen. When my queen's a queen, you can be a queen, and all of us can be queens. Matter of fact, kings were not opering kinging, correct? They weren't like you could be a king, you could be a king, all of us are kings. And then on that moment, they're like, you once were a king, I'm now gonna sell you onto a boat. And the
Yeah.
problem with this identity is that in essence it leaves people minds of believing that royalty is some marker, correct? That we should be gaining our identity through
Yeah.
monarchies.
No, you do not want to be royalty.
No,
Royalty, especially in those days, were oppressive. You
very
viewed your citizens as scum. You are evil. To be a monarch means you have to be quote unquote a son of a bitch. Most of you nice folks would not be a monarch. You don't have the heart or
the
the
stomach.
guts to be a monarch.
No. And but
You
by the way,
don't.
monarchies create pyramids, which did nothing for their people. I remind everyone, they built all those structures and didn't think enough to build high rises for people to live in. I mean, think about the wasted amount of human energy. They were like, hey guys, I have this great idea. Hold on. Shh. Be quiet, everyone. I know you guys are sleeping outside. Cool, man. However, what if we erect this thing? We'll call it a pyramid because I don't have any words for it yet. And in the future, we're going to have people who were stolen from the west coast of Africa claim ownership of it because we happen to share possibly a coloring system. And that is going to be the marker by which they understand science. I mean, in essence, you have to sort of understand that these are just extraordinary things that we're sort of thinking through. And by the way, because we're thinking through that construct, we are missing the understanding that the only way to break the chains of sort of this rapacious idea that those at the top get to take all of it is to understand that you giving into a system that looks at monarchies, that looks at kings, and looks at these sort of empires as being benevolent is a problematic thought process, and I think we need to break those chains too, because I think that's what's hurting our ability to get past it as well.
All right, man. Y'all hold on a second. We got another guest in the building, man. A well-known, you know what I'm saying, friend from long ago.
Here comes trouble.
What's going on, Thunder, man? I
Here
already know you
comes
coming
trouble.
for the smoke, man. What's happening with you, boy?
Let's say it. Say
Here
it.
comes trouble.
Hey, say it.
I figured that. Here
Go
comes
ahead,
trouble.
Thunder.
What the hell are y'all talking about, man? What are y'all been ranting the last 10 minutes about Italy and all. What the hell are y'all talking about? Hey, why y'all keep
Did you
using
see
this
the concept?
phrase?
Did you see
Why
the
do y'all keep
concept?
using race, man?
That was the whole objective of this presentation. We need to get away from that. It
Okay,
convolutes the
good.
conversation.
Thank
It
you.
messes things up. I'm tired of race being interjected into these
Thank
conversations.
you. Thank you.
Groups being used to identify race. It is the pseudoest nonsense
There
ever. In
you
a
go.
sense, we are regressing back to early 18th and 19th centuries thinking, right? This race-based science. So that
Now
was the
now
objective
the
of
pseudo
the
killers is
conversation.
back. Now here go the pseudo killer. There we go. I've been trying
That's
to get
always
y'all
been
there.
that's always been the pseudo killers.
Nah. That ain't always been. No, it
Hey,
ain't. No, it ain't.
hold on, Thunder, real quick, man. We got the God Killer, pseudo killer official in the building. You know what I'm saying? What's going on with you, man?
What it do? What it do? What
What's
it do?
going on,
God killer.
family, man? What's going on, Thunder? How you doing, man?
Hey, we finna get past this race stuff, right?
I thought I was passing when I was invited to teach that at ASCAC, my brother.
Nah, you wouldn't. No, you didn't. You've been using race.
Yeah.
Hell, you use race every day.
Oh, I ain't know.
When we gonna
And big
when
up
we
to
gonna
Mr.
get
Grant.
when we gonna get rid of race, bro?
Hold on, y'all got a distinguished guest on the panel. Y'all don't even know it, yo.
Oh, true indeed, true indeed.
That's
Yeah,
Mr. Grant right there, yo.
He been dropping some heat.
Hold on. Now I ain't heard him speak today, but the first time I heard that man speak, I say he's a science advocate. He's sharp. Welcome, Mr. Grant. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right, and we got, of course, Savio, old time Savio. Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate y'all inviting me up here on CED Talk, yo.
Old time
True
Savio.
indeed.
You're old time, nigga, ain't you? Okay, nigga, you's a newbie. Damn. What?
Let me ask you a question, Rob.
What's up? Go ahead.
With Dr. York, was he a homosexual?
I think he was. Now, if you look back at the court records and stuff like that, yeah, he would have had to been.
Did you see any homosexuality when you were there?
Well, I never lived on the land. I just went to the bookstores, and like on Sundays, we would drive up to the land and listen to Bunningham speak and then go home. So I wouldn't know all that. I remember I was on the outskirts. But you know, that's how coasts work. They got different spots and they try to groom people. So, you know, they was, you know, the position I was in, they was, you know, trying to get members.
How did you get groomed? Well, I don't want to say groomed.
No, I don't mind that. No,
you know what I'm trying to say.
No, you good. I'm saying it didn't work on me. And the reason is because I told you I had a strong family, right? I understood who my mother and father was. I had a pocket full of money. It wasn't no weak areas. My weak area was science literacy and understanding African and African American. So I got exploited, right? When I say exploited, I mean just listening to it, it sounded right. Right? It sounded like it was a place called Utla in America where we walked from Africa to America because it was one landmass. That sounded good. It made sense, but I didn't have the scientific accuracy to realize, well, when was Pangea here? What's the time period? Right? 450 million years ago. Okay, what the fuck is that? No humans yet. So I didn't have that package. So 20 years ago, 25 in 2003, 2000, I didn't have that package. So that's why I teach now. And then people try to use that against me. Nigga, I never was in the shit. I
No,
don't know. You would have
no,
to
I
ask
ain't saying.
Wu Job. No, I'm saying you would have to ask Wu Job.
Oh, Wu Jai was in there.
He lived on the land. He was in the thing. You have to ask Chuck Morgan. They was in the thing.
No, I'm really asking, like, what did you hear? What did
Never
he
heard it.
offer?
Nothing. He ain't
That's
say
what
none
I'm
of that.
asking. Like, what?
He ain't. He just crack jokes and talk that talk, yo. Talk that.
No,
I
listen to what I'm
mean,
saying. What was the appeal? What was the appeal to him?
oh, black. Oh, no, he taught the blackology. So if you go back to 2000, you got the Nation of Islam, you got the what we talking about, Moorish Science Temple. Who else you got? You got Assad Set Society,
Got
and they
them five
booming in
percenters.
5%ers. Shit,
5%.
but he was talking about Africa and how Africans, populate the world. He would throw some evolution in, some fucked up evolution in. So his package was superior in pseudoisms. It was way better than the pseudo shit all them groups I just mentioned. And he would talk about science, and you was thinking you was getting it, right? And in them days, it was the fucking dial-up computer, yo. So you would dial up on the internet and try to fix. And I mean, it's just it's a weakness that got exploited. That's why we trying to tell people now. Like, bro, you listen to me because I listen to the best pseudo. I believe he's the best pseudo. He had bookstores around the world, right? He was better than Bobby Hemmett. He was better than Phil Valentine. The nigga just was better than them niggas, yo, at what he was doing. He was polite, took a piece of his game, and look how niggas went for polite shit. Because the nigga was a master pseudo. He took the white people shit and mastered that shit, yo. So if you were scientifically literate, you thinking nigga, you's a motherfucking idiot. But who knew about Pangea? Who knew about evolution and Charles Darwin? I didn't know about that like that, bro. I didn't, you know what I'm
Man,
saying? You read it in school, you heard about Piltdown Man, but man, you just searching for the black shit, yo. You searching, you searching for blackness, yo. The hip hop was booming with the black shit. Karis One was talking about the black Hebrews. And so the shit was a recipe for disaster, bro. I'm just saying I was lucky because at the end of the day, nigga, I was a money getting nigga, and I didn't need a family, so they couldn't exploit me with that, nigga. I just support, meaning I used to go to the bookstore with Big Up the Reverend Bun. That's my man, right? And he was a cool ass New York nigga. He owned the bookstore, and I actually learned from him. I never actually really learned from New York. So Bum would basically say, nah, that shit crazy. So he was like a filter for me. That's nah, you know what I mean? Because he lived on the land. He was like, nah, don't buy that book. That's the same shit in there. And so I had a nigga who could actually, so I don't know. I'ma always find a thorough cool nigga anyway, in any situation. And that nigga was cool. And I ain't get got, yo. I didn't go no farther than going to the bookstores, yo. And it was something to do. You
okay.
could ask questions about the Bible, right? I read the whole Bible, got a chance to read the whole Bible, got a chance to get the Strong's Concordant, learned about that. So it was some things that I actually learned that I could later on use. But I mean, niggas is still caught up. And so I always like to say this. I talked to Chuck Morgan the other day. I say, yo, we represent the niggas that actually defeated the school. Like we went against that. Like we not students of the school. We defeated the school. It's like when Charlene meet another temple and they defeat him. So like we defeated that. And based off our level of defeating that shit, that's why a nigga can't say no pseudo shit to me. That's why I hear it a mile away. I can hear the punch coming. I'm like the grand master of the pseudo shit. You know what I'm saying? Nah, don't say that. Don't say that word. No, because that's gonna put you here, right? But most niggas don't got that experience. Like I had 5 years of hearing that crazy ass shit, yo. And it just put like the Anunnaki, all that, like all that. You're like, I know it. Like I got all that shit was blackenized, yo. They blackenized all that shit in the books. They blackenized Islam, Christianity. So I've been through that school to blackenize the shit, and it's stupid. And the way I can understand it now is because I got literate in science, yo. That's it. That's the key here, right? I like to use somebody that y'all know, Sekou Keller, right? Look at his development of science literacy. You know what I'm saying? Just look at everybody, bro. Like it's and so this what I never said to niggas. I never lied to y'all. I never lied and said that I didn't think I was an Egyptian. I said, yeah, in 2000, I thought I was Egyptian, and I thought everybody was black first. I told y'all that. And I thought that for 5 years, yo. I thought niggas actually walked to America. Then I told y'all one of my most embarrassing moments. One of my most embarrassing moments was standing in a class that I helped start, the Shrine of Black Madonna, a lot of you not, right? And I was going against Charles Darwin and the monkey shit, right? Big up to the teacher. And I'm standing there and I'm telling you, I got Dr. Ben's books, I got John Jackson work, I got all that shit, yo. And was fucking it up, yo. And it was like 5 classes. The teacher said, the nigga say, cause then he said, yo, check this out, bro. He said, you got the books. The way the evidence is gonna beat you down. I'm like, what, nigga? Huh? Nigga, I come out to school, you what? Nigga, what? Huh? Nigga, this nigga beat me up, yo, every class. I'm standing in the front of class, yo. A lady in the class was like, what's your problem with the monkeys? And I realized I ain't have a problem with the monkeys, yo. She said Africans use all kind of stuff to make their point the way they understand. But what's your issue with the monkeys? And I realized that it was my ignorance that made me had a problem with the animals, the rest of the animals around us. It was my problem with being connected to nature. I ain't no animal. I said all that, yo. So I never came to y'all acting like I said I come from pseudo beginnings, yo. That's what I said out my mouth, yo. And then people act like I never said that, yo. I just wasn't on YouTube with it. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all just missed it. Y'all had it, y'all didn't see it. Maybe I'll dig into some videos on my computer when I got my nephew standing beside me and I'm kicking that we walked the earth, we walked around. I did that. So I'm not ashamed of that though, yo. I tell my story, y'all can grow from it. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, bro. Nick, the real truth is niggas hate. See, it's called hate, bro. It's called hate. Because guess what? I feel like my game is so tight that I don't gotta allow y'all to beat y'all niggas. That's how I feel. I feel like I can frame it properly. I can say, well, this person said that, right? And that. I don't gotta lie. Like, let's take Chief X. I don't gotta lie on Chief X. I don't gotta go back 10 years to beat Chief X. Because it would not be proper for me to go back 10 years. It'd be proper for me to deal with when the argument started, when he started running his mouth, right? It's called apples to apples and oranges to oranges. The issue is that people think you can go back 20 years. Oh, you used to sell dope 20 years, 35 years ago. You used to think, but why don't you talk about what I'm doing now? Why y'all gotta go back in video 10, 15 years ago? That doesn't make sense. What is this man saying now? So I'm always getting videos with Chief X say right now. What is Chief X saying right now?
Go get that
That's
moringa.
how you do that. I can't judge him. The moringa.
He's still selling that shit.
That's not lying. He got
now
a
he's
website.
like actively still selling that
he's
shit.
Actively, right. He probably take the website down tomorrow.
Scam.
Get a screenshot of it right now. Right. So think about that, though, yo.
Like now.
But if Chief X was selling moringa 7, 8 years ago, and he's no longer doing it, and he recognized her, then why would I bring that up? That's how they gotta do me. They gotta go back They gotta go back to the criminal trial debate. Nigga, that was damn near 10 years ago, yo. That's 10 years ago, right? And what was I doing 10 years ago? I'm doing something that nobody in the community even thought was possible. I'm reading a DNA test, nigga. I'm the first nigga that did that. You got Ishmael Law, he took a test, and I took a test. And I took one of them serious tests. Like my shit upgrade every year. So I'm gonna do a show, and just for the lovers and the haters, and I'm gonna read my DNA shit. And I'm gonna show you how I misread it back then and how I understand it today, based off of 10, 15 years of understanding DNA now. But guess what, yo? I don't got a problem with that. Never forget this, yo. Me, nigga, I don't got a lot to beat y'all niggas, yo. I'm gonna beat y'all niggas dealing with the shit you saying right fucking now. I'm not going back 2, 3, 8 years. If the debate started, if Chief X say ground zero was 5 years ago, nigga, then I want to deal with all the shit the nigga said 5 years ago then. Not the shit he said 10 years ago. This nigga was running around thinking he was a little munchkin. He thought he was God best, right? He actually thought that, or am I just tripping?
He said he was God. What?
He thought God the best, but I don't bring that up because that was back then.
He was,
You ain't know that nigga. He run around thinking he was the munchkin nigga in the Egyptian pantheon. Yo, he did.
Yo, bro, he still say God best, yo.
All right, well,
so
that ain't the point.
that's another thing.
Yeah, but I don't think he thinks he's Egyptian God. I don't think he thinks that
I don't
African
know.
Americans are gods no more. No, I don't think that. See, I don't got a lie though. I don't think he thinks that.
I'm allowing
Yeah,
it. I
but
think he God best.
all right, well,
No,
there you go.
I'm just messing. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead. I ain't wanna-
that's
Nah,
my
he
point.
doesn't
Yo,
think
like
that.
it's not. It doesn't. I'm saying for me, yo, on who I think I am, and the nigga I think I am, the person I think I am, yo, like for me, yo, like I'm like the predator, yo. You know what I'm saying? In the movies, yo. If I run into a group of motherfuckers, they ain't got no weapons, I'm gonna lay my weapon down, yo. If it's just the hands we don't, I want to use the hands. Cause it ain't no fun. Ain't no fun. It's fun when I beat a nigga straight up and down and don't lie and cheat and say, nigga, I got you. Nigga, you just said them niggas come from here like that. You use the word African, but explain everything outside of African. I like that way. I like when Chief X now saying that yeah, the upper Egyptian culture took the northern culture. Okay, nigga, there you go. I mean, I straightened you, nigga. You don't gotta say it, but you straight. I straightened you, nigga. Today you just said it that way. Okay, nigga, we cool with that. See how I go? Right. So I got niggas. Keep going though. Niggas keep going. I got them, yo. I swear I do, yo. I swear. And I'm using the shit they doing right now. Got them. It's all good for me, bro. I love it. I love the environment right here, yo. But what I'm not doing is I'm not giving them niggas the energy they want, yo. I'm ignoring. I got other shit I'm doing right now. Them niggas are silly.
Yeah, we gonna keep pushing forward, keep doing the work we're doing. Keep grounding the conversation so that
my fault.
Go ahead.
Can I say this real quick, yo?
Go ahead.
Since it took niggas 3 hours to figure out why the pyramids was built where they was built, let me answer it in 1 solid minute. The reason the ancient Egyptians built the pyramids what they did because they was great land surveyors, yo. Right? They had to be because the annual flood would erase all the boundaries. So they had to learn how to survey the land. Okay, they actually got a deity for surveying. It's called the I think it's the pulling of the rope ceremony, right? And they built the pyramids there because they built it on bedrock, and the stones that they would use, the couple million stones they would use, actually came from right there, yo. That's an area that could handle that much weight, right? They seen it, they understood that, and they built them there. They get granite from the south, right? For like the luxury type of shit, like the sarcophagus inside the pyramid, whatever. It's empty though, but they use that, the capstone use that, and then use the outside stones. They get that from the Levant somewhere. That's all in record. But the reason they built that there is because that's the best place to build that shit. It's a whole nation, yo. Right? It's a government. It's a southern matter of fact, it's a southern government policy. Right?
So said that on the CNN interview.
Right. See? So
like
watch
this shit
this
is
though.
like doesn't even like this is crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But watch this though. Ken. Watch this, Ken. If the United States build a telescope in Hawaii and get some parts from China and some parts from Russia, it's still an American satellite, yo. And the reason they built it in Hawaii, which is United States, is because there's a big mountain there and it makes sense to have it there. So ain't no spookism. The pyramids aren't aligned with no fucking stars and shit. That's not true. All right. So it made sense for building projects such as that will stand damn near forever, to build it on a solid foundation. And the area they built it in was a solid foundation. These niggas were they were surveyors, they were engineers, bro. And you know what I'm saying? They say what I say about function, right? Like the shit got to be functional, yo, and then the style. Right? Meaning you gotta be able to make the shit stand up.
Form follows
function. Yes, form
follows function. Yeah.
Right. So why would I build it in a place that the shit may sink into the ground, may fall down? I gotta spend all my money trying to get rocks from another whole place. They got the rocks right from there. I'm gonna say it again. The stones they used to build the pyramids, they got it from right there. And here's a source, and I'm gonna shut the hell up. The name of the source is the stones that built the pyramids. Matter of fact, there's a debate on YouTube that I did about 5 years ago, beat the shit out of Brother Tahuti, and I beat him up on that. So I'm done. And how long did that take me? What, 2 minutes to explain it, yo?
And
There we have
they
it.
got the names of the people that was working on the pyramids. You see, some names are regional. So you see Upper and Lower Egyptian names, right? And it's a state project. Plus, if you subscribe to the wiki that is Mesopotamian influence, the influence from Mesopotamia comes through Upper Egypt. Right? So that knowledge would have been spread from upper to lower. So I'm saying, so like that shit crazy.
Yeah, they come via Yemen, come into the southern part, and then you're right.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, so it shouldn't take niggas that long.
So in the building, man.
If I am establishing an empire and I am conquering, right? Because we romanticize empire and statehood formation. I am moving into this territory to unify. Where am I going to plant and put down my It's in your backyard to show you I rule this now. It's mine now. This all belongs to me. So,
well, I think Gullah said it best. Said the capital in Memphis so they can administrate both areas there easily. It just makes sense, bro. Like I don't know why it's simple. The same. The governance is a Upper Egyptian governance. The old kingdom. It is, yo. You gotta read the Egyptian history where you get different motherfuckers coming to do it. But I don't know what to say.
Yeah, right? I mean, but even you would never you can't pick like you could say, well, right, you start in Upper Egypt, so the Upper Egyptians built the pyramid. Like nobody says that shit.
Nobody says correct.
You know what I'm saying? It's like why wonder about things that the experts don't even say? You know what I'm saying? Like
because that's what they believe. Because that's what they actually believe. They came from the north. They don't talk about how it was unified, and how the polities, the culture moved in the northern direction towards the Mediterranean. That doesn't mean that a whole group of people now the Black Isles say that all the people came from Kenya. And no, the Nile was populated by Upper and Lower Egyptians. They spoke distinct dialects, right? The culture was kind of similar. You know what I'm saying? And that Lower Egyptian population is more closer to the Mediterranean, to the Delta. Okay. The Upper Egyptians was more closer. They, was more closer to Sudan, and that's Lower Nubia. And that makes sense. The lower Nubians got a little cut on them because people since the Palestine been mixing, niggas just been mixing in. That's not an issue. You know what I'm saying? Like watch this. Nature knows no color. What am I saying? So humans can come back 350,000 years later, draw a map and call this area Africa, but nature don't abide by that rule. That's why they have where does Hubble Group start? It might be in Asia, it might be in Africa. Why? Because it's a line. It's an arbitrary line, right? Nature does what it wants to do. Nature is not following those boundaries, those hard, fast boundaries that we argue over, right? Nature is not following that. You can have a person that you perceive to be Indo-European or Mediterranean, right? And they started right there in North Africa. That line don't mean nothing. We think as soon as you cross that line, nigga, you just switched. The Hubble Group changed. You know, like that cell phone commercial where you got the bars over your head? Well, niggas act like you got Hubble Groups over your head. When you step over that line, it changed.
But yo, I was in I ain't gonna say his name.
Exactly. Name. It is the wildest thing.
Listen, he gave me a they give me my people, they give me I go with sources with them stuff, journals.
Right.
And he said it, he was talking about it, and he was like, yeah, the Lower Egyptians are responsible for building the pyramid. I mean, he said it so matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
You thought it was sourced.
He said, what did he say? What did he say? How he said? He said what?
He was like, because first they tried to argue, because when I was explaining to him how the Lower Egyptian had no connection to Mesopotamia, the first thing was like, how are they right there, right? Then once he realized, he was like, okay, all right, I see. You know what I'm saying? And he backed out of that. But he's like, yeah, but the Lower Egyptians are the one responsible to build the pyramids because of I'm I'm like, bro, where'd you get that from? You know what I'm saying? That's like something that he, you know what I'm saying? But he said it so matter of factly. you know, I was like, Jesus.
Hey, well, y'all ever heard of the book where they talk about the Pharaoh's workers? Y'all familiar with that?
The what?
The Pharaoh's workers. Talking about the Asiatic cities they built. Workers. The cities workers. They was Asiatic. Like they don't got a problem with working. Yeah, I'm saying it's y'all gotta think it's just like us, yo. Like we don't got a problem with working.
Hey,
No, but you got to understand that was an area people were being employed. They're moving from all over the region because there's major construction happening there, right? And so you got people coming in from all over the region,
and it's
right?
work.
It's work.
And
It's work.
Yeah. Thank you,
money.
You get your money, you don't get money. You think this is going to let the Lord get money? Like, man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Crazy.
No.
Crazy.
Like, have you never seen people migrating to go to big projects like the Caribbean? Its history is of people migrating to different islands based on the economic advantages of that particular island. There was the move to the Dominican Republic before, when people were going to cut sugarcane, and then there was a move to the southern part of the Caribbean. Trinidad, Curacao, Aruba, because of the oil industry that was developed. People migrate for work. They move to where work is. That's just human nature.
Yeah, that's funny though.
But in 2026, we got a nigga saying that the motherfucking culture and Lloyd, what's the name of that culture? I forget the name of the culture. MAADI.
Marimde.
Yeah. Last week, see, I want to take your last week's statements and put them through the test. Last week, right? Last week. I don't want to talk about what you did 10, 15 years ago. Last week, nigga said out of his mouth that the Marimde culture, that's the oldest culture there. And you know, they was while the whole time the palette is called the motherfucking battle scene palette. It's showing them niggas with their hands behind their back. Now that's ridiculous. See what I'm saying? But watch this. The day I heard the nigga say, well, yeah, the upper culture did defeat them. Okay, nigga, so you got it straight. So I'm gonna leave you alone with that, nigga. But I bet you won't take that video down though. See what I'm saying? See, that's last week. See how I beat that nigga? See, nigga can't beat me. He gotta go.
He done fumble for the scoop score. He done fumble for the scoop score touchdown.
We got a question. We got a serious question from the chat, yo. Sunchild asked if are Africans black.
Non sequitur. Don't ask those questions on a set top. Go look at the show.
Or the
red flag.
Is the whole continent of African.
Look, the set talk is dope though. I like that.
Dope shit.
Set talk today deals with exactly this thing here. It is becoming ridiculous now. Again, I get and I understand the political climate that we're in right now, that it is the first thing that we are going to filter to, right? But it is regressing the conversation back to 19th and early 20th century form of using race science. Let us not do this. We should not be regressing in the conversation. We need to take the conversation forward. This type of question is taking us right back to 19th century race science.
Yeah, I ain't answering that shit. That shit's stupid.
Being black doesn't make you special. Being an extraordinary human being makes you an extraordinary human being. The merits of your actions is reflective of who you are. You cannot have this transitory nature of someone else's contributions. The problem with it is the moment you say, well, black people did this, who I'm unaffiliated with, therefore I'm as excellent or as extraordinary as them. If intelligence and or excellence, or however you want to frame it, is transitory, which means it can just be passed genetically, all of us will be sitting here with PhDs based on some of your understanding of what the ancient Egyptians did. But by the evidence, what we know, that our group, correct, as a people, we have we don't have the highest number of PhDs. So in essence, it's not transitory. Being Black can be extraordinary. We bring a lot to the table culturally. However, beyond that, you could be a horrible human and be Black. And I've met a ton of them. And you can be an extraordinary human and be Black. And you can be extraordinary Chinese, and you can be extraordinary Japanese, and you can be horrible in with those groups as well. I just don't know why you're so tethered to this idea that being Black, that other people have to be Black so you feel better. And maybe that's not your vantage point, but I get the sense it's something you need. And by the way, you can have it. Matter of fact, we'll send you a medal that says you're Black, being Black's awesome, and then you can put that on your resume. And then the people will read it and they will ignore it, and either will give you the job based on, you know what, your qualification. That is the only thing they're going to care about. Are you qualified as a human being to do the job? Are you functionally in the head? And if you cannot meet that criteria, giving them your Black card, your Black gold, whatever thing you think that makes Black amazing, which it can. Being Black is awesome. You got rhythm. You can shoot a basketball if that's what you do. You can run fast. I don't know. Whatever you attribute to your Blackness that makes you a Black person who's always Black, that skill will not change if you're trying to move into areas of expertise. And therein lies the chasm you have with being focused on something so myopic. In essence, race and adaptation, to correct, being exposed to the sun has nothing to do with whether or not you're capable of doing other things. Matter of fact, people who say African Americans are fast or Black Americans are fast or the fastest people or are best at basketball miss one problem. There are no African basketball teams dominating the NBA because it is transitory. You can't just say Black basketball because that is not how it works. Black Americans just so happen to be in a cultural environment that gives them an opportunity to play a sport in which their height allows for them to dominate in physical expertise. However, others who may share similar physical attributes are not dominating just naturally. We're not just showing up handing Black babies in Africa. You know, I'm using your terminology, so correct. We're not just handing them a basketball and going, let nature take its course because you're Black. What's going to happen for you? There's got to be 30 Michael Jordans here in this tribe. I just think you're overly concerned about it being Black. And by the way, give us your address. We'll send you a medal. Congratulations on being Black. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Hey, Grant, you know we hiring over here the pseudo killers, man. If you want, you know what I mean? Hey, if you can join the Discord, man, I'd love to hear more of your information.
Got that link in the back there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you move slow as shit. Can't slow it down. Can't slow it down.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
slow it down.
He was hitting them niggas hard, man.
Now that shit, I'm gonna blame you. I'm gonna blame sound like you, y'all. There y'all go. Cause I'm Black and I'm proud. That nigga say he's Black and he's proud.
Yeah, we all Black. We all Black and proud.
Hey, look, that's the first time I heard that Africans ain't dominating no basketball.
What we gonna do? What we gonna do? Be Black and unproud?
That's a good one. That was a good one, yo.
Hey, Kent.
There's no other option. Hey, to be proud.
Think about that, Sosa. Think about that, Sosa. Listen, can I be Black and not proud? Like, how can I be not proud of me? Like,
Black and not proud.
That's because they beat us down, yo.
Hey, so didn't we just have an argument, yo, over that? We just had that very argument. I said, how come Africans don't dominate and sprint? What was we arguing over, yo? I said that.
Yeah, we was having the same discussion.
Same thing. I said, yo, why
my argument, you think my argument still holds.
Man,
see, there you go.
As eloquent as Grant put that. That's not the end all, be all, right?
Okay.
There are reasons.
I'm rolling out, man.
And what you said, Thunder?
What's up about the roll?
Oh, hey, man, appreciate you coming through, Thunder.
Peace.
There are reasons why East Africans, the Ethiopians, and Kenyans dominate the marathon. Now, physiology ain't the only thing, right? There's other factors that go into it, but physiology does play a role. That is there. You know what I'm saying? Is genetics is a real thing. You know what I'm saying? Not the end all be all. Like I'm not fast.
But you also, I think the problem is you're giving credence to color and not to I'm saying, like in the case of Ethiopians, or I say you're that cohort, correct? I agree with you.
I took regions. I didn't say black.
But even within those regions, those can be replicated, correct? It just so happened that is what they may have prized. In essence, these are all by accident. In essence, we don't necessarily know.
Yeah, that's my argument.
Yeah,
it's like a genetic lottery.
Yeah,
you ever read genetic lottery? That's what it is.
Yeah, it's all luck.
Just so happens that yeah. So my argument is
okay. Well, I hear you. No, I got you.
Okay, Ken said he ain't never heard that.
I ain't just making it.
I know you is. I
wasn't in there when y'all.
I like what Grant said though. Like I agree with what he said too, though. I agree with what he said.
Yeah, I wasn't in there when you said it, if you did say it.
I put my resume. I put my lineage back to Egypt though, just in case. You never know. You never know.
Hey, yeah, you know I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do a show. I'm gonna reveal my DNA test to people, right? All right.
Oh, you did a new one?
Sure. Yeah, it upgraded, but it got some shit in there that don't nobody want to hear. And I'm gonna explain it right because we're gonna put it in ChatGPT. We're gonna say, well, how do you explain this? We're gonna do it the right way. Yeah. Yeah, in 2026. I got all that coming. Just keep talking shit. Because I got it.
Let me order another one, man. Then we'll do a show, man. I'm gonna do a 23andMe. I did a MyHeritage. They updated, so I'm gonna do another one just to verify.
Okay.
My first two was so contradictory to each other. I was like, I gained 8 more percentage African ancestry. You know what I'm saying? Like 98.2% African.
From the Bongo, cool. They got you always coming from the Bongo.
Yeah, I'm more African than some continentals, but you know what I'm saying? Which is cool. But I'm gonna do just to make sure, you know what I mean? I got 2 different ones. So I'm gonna do one more to stuff.
Yeah, they say that. All right, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna see. We're gonna see who mischaracterizes what. Let me see who's lying. Let's see. We're gonna find out, ain't we?
You pull up that 11 You have to put that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put up that 11 I definitely got the 11 You know what I mean? Definitely that.
Man, hey, man, why they keep bringing up the Magi jump, man? I want you to go ahead and address it one last time for me if you want to,
bring
man.
It up with my DNA test because I got some shit from Sudan. Yep.
Indeed, I thought you might have wanted to go ahead.
The Benjai.
You're gonna do a special. You gonna do a special on it? That's what you're trying to tell me.
I'm gonna do a special on it. Special for y'all. Special for the bitch niggas. That's what.
Slow the conversation.
Yeah, slow the conversation down. Let's see if the nigga was just sitting there making up shit, or did he just mischaracterize the test 10 years ago when nobody even knew what the fuck a DNA test was? Yeah, all right. That's how we doing it. Let's see. We're gonna see. It's all good for me, yo. I love the smell of victory and watching the agony of defeat. See, when you got a weak leader, and Chief X is definitely a leader, yo, you gonna fall. See what I'm saying? When you got a weak leader, when your leader is Chief X, he do sloppy scholarship, yo. He do real quicker shit. He do drunkership, quicker shit. See? Yeah, he brings a piece of the video. Yeah, he brings some shit. That's like taking Dr. Ben book from 1978 and putting it up to a modern anthropology book. Like, why would you do that? That's improper to do that.
Yeah, and it becomes irritating and annoying. Again, this is why I needed to do this. When I hear terms being misused, concepts that are unscientific, that is not appropriate for the discussion. What you do back there, God?
I'm building a
pots and pans.
You're building like a treehouse or something.
Oh, my fault. You know, I'm getting that money, yo.
Put like a little couch in there.
My fault. Let me put that in there. I'm working. Yeah, I'm working.
They cooking, man. He cooking for real.
Yeah, my fault. I'm moving. I'm moving
that ladder tomorrow, man. A little step. You can do that tomorrow evening.
Look, I'm moving a mop bucket. I'm working by myself today. My son, he gone to Florida. You know what I'm saying? He got a little scholarship in lacrosse. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He ain't get that. Yeah, nice.
Nice.
They said you building a
nigga in the newspaper. Yeah, he be in the newspaper.
Black folks playing lacrosse? What the hell?
Yeah. What the hell is going on? It must be the gene. Oh no, he got the.
You don't got the genes for the. You don't got the genetics to play lacrosse.
I was just going to make that observation about the discussion we're having. Remember, black folks don't swim. That is
Yeah, that's crazy.
so it's once African Americans are given the opportunity and exposed to different environments, we see that they can excel in whatever sport they are given, and not only sports, academia as well, right? It is where the attention and the resources are focused. In that same discussion, remember Jamaica? Jamaica over the last 20, 30 years have invested, focused on developing their track and field. That means sending the students to American colleges. So the investment is necessary along with the natural talent. So the one needs to be developed. You are not going to simply look at an individual's race or ethnicity and assume a superiority. That happened to yours truly as a basketball player. You know, white man can't jump until you get dunked by a dude 6'7". White boy dunks over your head and you go, oh, okay, that's a misconception. You know what I mean? So all these flawed ideas that we have based on race, when we actually put them to the test, they fall apart. It is not a one-on-one equation. There's work necessary, and of course, to attribute it to quote unquote race or a particular ethnic group without seeing that within that group these are exceptional individuals within themselves and that have a particular a regiment and course of training to get them there. We reduce the conversation to white man can't jump, and because you're black you go to basketball.
Yo, if y'all haven't seen this dude named Zeb Powell, who's a snowboarder, for the man, cold.
He is very good. He's very good. He is very good. I also to add to what you're saying, Cedric, is it's one of the things we miss too. It's one of the things is there's a moment, and I think everyone can agree that we would have never said that there would be the best baseball player would be Japanese. And we would have never said that they're going to be bringing in a ton of Japanese players. I mean, there was a gap between these two, and they're now looking at South Korea. And when South Korea comes out of they come out of the Korean War and Japan out of World War II, they're relatively small, and they were relatively small up until the 80s, correct? But South Korea in particular began to bring in more milk things back to make their young boys and girls bigger. Their average height is the same. In essence, we have this preconceived notion that that being short is Asian. It just so happened that they happen to be short, correct? But in essence, modern food, modern medicine is changing that. And most recently, I think a U16 football team, an American U16, went to Japan to play them in football and lost. And you have to think to yourself, in essence, we're not frozen by biology. We're not frozen by what may have happened, not especially today. And one of the things is that if you perceive that African Americans or Black Americans have an advantage, that advantage is slowly moving away from us, correct? If it is in sports, and it will continue to cede ground. I mean, there are very few Black Americans in baseball today, correct? And there's the whole host of reasons why. But one of the reasons that you have other groups of people who traditionally didn't have access to the types of medicine, the types of foods, the types of fats that would allow for them to grow big, et cetera. But that's no longer the case. As other countries modernize, they're actually outcompeting us in a way that we are not seeing. And even in basketball, you're seeing that the Europeans are now dominating what was largely a Black American dominated sport. And today, the top 5 or 6 players in the NBA are non-Black Americans for the most part, plus or minus. Those are changes. I don't think a couple of years ago we would have said that.
No.
And in essence, for those who walk around cocky and thinking, well, this is something can't happen to us, I would just say the world is hardly jumped on board with science. And by the way, and we keep talking about European science and Black African science, but the Chinese don't care about either. They don't care. The Chinese are not trying to figure out African science or European science. They're just sciencing, correct? They're just doing science in the sake of science because they understand. They're not like, hold on, Was that a Negro?
That's that white man
Was
science.
that a Negro that did that?
Let's get the white man science.
Well, hold on, let's get the white European science.
Hey, but
So-
there is a nationalism in it though. They do have
they could care
they
less.
do have a,
and
they
that's
do
just-
have a nationalism in it though, right?
Yeah, they're
like they
they're
found
not.
fines, but that's okay. But science will weed all your nationalism out real quick.
Yeah,
I just
most
want to say
certainly.
that.
Yeah, we got Sunchild in the building. What's
Oh,
going
the
on, brother?
Sunchild.
Oh Lord.
He came to drop some knowledge on us. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure.
Sweet Jesus.
What's going
I
on?
don't
Go ahead,
drop
Sunchild.
knowledge, brother. Can y'all hear me? I do not drop knowledge. I keep a hold of it. Okay, I don't drop it. I don't got butterfingers. I don't have butterfingers with the knowledge like y'all do.
All on it.
Yeah, I got
Hey, what is it?
butterfingers. Y'all be dropping the knowledge.
You holding on? Okay, I see.
Butterfingers. I got butterfingers.
I'm putting down.
Yo, the brother just said he gonna send out medals for being black, and he mentioned Black Americans and Black Africans. The last couple of sentences he said, "Keep the medal for yourself, brother. You got it. You earned it." But I don't want to deviate from the conversation. I wanted to say something about Darwin, if I may. But it might deviate, and I can wait, but it might deviate.
This got to do with the Obama 8 picture, bro.
It does not.
Okay, go ahead, man.
All right. So I was I was listening to the brother God Energy on the show, and I respect the brother. I think he's doing a great job, right? And he mentioned being finding peace with Darwin. And I said that's interesting because I'm having a tough time being at peace with Darwin. And I thought, I respect this brother. Maybe I should take a second look for his sake. That's how much he's impressed me. He's a very impressive young man. For his age, he's just very impressive. And shout out to the Bomb Squad, all of them. I'm very proud of them. They're much younger than I am. And when I was their age, brother, I was nowhere near where they are as far as being highly informed. I ain't gonna sweat them too hard, but
hey, you still not though, nigga. Let's get that straight. You still not.
Still not what?
At your age you at now, you ain't nowhere near where they at.
But we digress. Go ahead.
But hey man, listen. You probably right. You probably right. I'll take that. So my question is this: as far as being at peace with Darwin, right? I have come to be at peace with Darwin to an extent, and here's why. Mm-hmm. I understand that in Darwin's time they had what was called polygenics or genetics. What is it? Polygenesis, right?
Yes, polygenesis.
And they taught that, and according to polygenesis, the different races had different beginnings, and they evolved separately and so on.
Yeah.
Right. And that was just totally racist, blatantly racist. Mm-hmm. And then they came with monogenesis. Uh-huh. But there was also a hierarchical version of monogenesis, in which, in the sense that we have one origin, but because of the evolution of certain different races and so on, they also produced a hierarchy, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you have Darwin, and Darwin says monogenesis. We all have one origin in Africa, right? And the only thing that separates us is culture and technology as far as a hierarchy, right?
Okay.
So
I'm waiting for you to drop the
Darwin,
bomb on me. Where the fuck is you gonna drop the bomb at?
Yes, sir. That's a bomb. And I'll give that to Darwin. That he was less of a hierarchical racist individual in that time. However,
there you go, Sunchild. Go to real Sunchild. Go ahead. Go to real.
However, here's the rub. Here's the rub. Are you ready for the rub? Mm-hmm. What Darwin did, and how Darwin and how. Hang on. Can I speak? How Darwin becomes racist in his theory, or in his rendition, is he introduced what became known as the white man's burden. He said that the Africans are culturally and technologically inferior. And it was up to and he called them savages for it. And he said it was up to the civilized races to civilize the uncivilized races. And from that, from his perspective of what civilized and uncivilized were, and from that, we have what we know today as the white man's burden to civilize, to colonize, and to basically to civilize these savages was their Christian and scientific, according to Darwin, their scientific duty was to civilize these culturally and technologically uncivilized people, which perhaps was just as damaging as polygenesis and monogenesis that said that there was a genetic hierarchy as well. What he did, even though it was less blatantly racist, what he did, the effects of it were still colonization, right? And civilizing the uncivilized in whatever way you could.
So colonization was happening while
that will always be, and that will always be a part of Darwin's legacy. Is the white man's burden.
You are
all right,
you are
wrong. Let get a response. Go ahead, Grant. Get a response.
You are wrong. It's two left shoes, son child. That actually
who's that talking? Who's that talking?
This is Sabio. Let Cedric go. You gotta let the host
Sabio. Coming from Sabio, I know I'm right.
No, you are wrong.
Talk first.
So
go ahead, brother. Tell me how Darwin's monogenesis did not influence the white man's burden. Tell me how it didn't.
Monogenesis did not start with Darwin.
I didn't say it did. I didn't say it did, brother.
Hey, bro, I listened to you. Chill out.
I did not, but you're wrong. Off the jump. I did not say it began with Darwin. I said there was monogenesis before Darwin, but their monogenesis still had a hierarchy based on genetics. Darwin's monogenesis did not have a hierarchy based on.
All right, hold on. So, Sunchild, we're gonna let you talk, bro. You just gotta keep it civil though, so we can hear everybody talk. Everybody ain't talking at the same time. Now let him respond, and then you can go ahead and respond to him and say that's not what I said. This, that, and the third. Okay. All right. So go ahead, Sabio. What you about to say, man?
So again, this white man's burden, this whole savage calling other humans that was not part of this one God. God created us in His image, stems from the Christian rhetoric. Early on, this stems from what Ankh was reading, the dumb verses and all those papal bulls when they went out and started colonizing the savages, not only in Africa but the Americas. What are you talking about? Polygenism and monogenism was used by different people at different times, bro. You have to read. That was horrible.
There's not much more you can say to that, kill shot. Your chronology is completely off. First of all,
he said a kill shot. All right, let me ask: does anyone on the panel agree with what I just said in correlating Darwin with the white man's burden of civilizing the uncivilized?
No, I was responding and illustrating that your chronology is off. The white man burden is a theological claim that precedes Darwin by hundreds of years. So no, you're wrong from all aspects, and primarily chronology, right? And you're misconstruing what Darwin was saying, right? Indeed, if you look at civilizations that are technologically more advanced, that are superior in firepower, and you're observing what you're seeing in terms of colonialism and the oppression of people of lesser technology, you are going to make the observation that Darwin made. That was not saying he was a racist. He was making an observation, because at that point, there were hundreds of years of slavery and colonization already in play. based on the white man's burden. So your chronology is wrong. Your attribution to Darwin for being racist and stimulating the oppression of indigenous cultures around the world is fundamentally wrong.
So you're saying Darwin's theory did not influence the colonization and what the so-called white man's burden? You're saying that had nothing to do with Darwin?
I would think the evidence. I mean, you have to prove that there's no evidence. Correct. I think the problem is you're making an assertion that is not backed up by any evidence. And if you say, okay, it would be something to this effect, it would be more like this particular government or correct country or monarchy read Darwin, correct, and instituted a set of laws based on Darwinism. And their interpretation of Darwinism was that all dark people were savages that should be conquered. Okay, then at that moment you can say that they extracted a particular idea. It doesn't mean it was right or wrong, correct? They could have extracted and been wrong in their misinterpretation, but you can at least land on a place that says, hey, they pulled this information out, they constructed a whole apparatus around his ideology, and there's all of this evidence that's contemporaneous, correct? That there are writings, and there's enough evidence that supports that idea, and it just does not appear to be the case. Now, I think you're using a broader sense that many white Europeans had some sense of racialized understanding of the world, and it may have seeped into certain disciplines. I think everyone acknowledges that, correct? But to just say because broadly there was some this hyper racialization within those, correct, who were in different disciplines, that then you can go ahead and say all of these other problems that happen in the world, which seems odd, and just pick the one person you just don't like. It almost feels like you need Darwin as the bad guy. It's almost like you read the Old Testament and then wrote the New Testament to fulfill the prophecies in the Old Testament. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's true, correct? It just means that you need the bad guys to prove this new guy or this new identity or this new religion you have to give it credence, which is totally cool, correct? We can call that religion. But in the case of sort of fact-based sort of acknowledgement of an idea, in essence, you have to have all these other things that are happening. And unfortunately, and again, I haven't done as much deep research as you have, but I feel pretty reasonably confident that there does not appear to be anything of significance that supports your argument. And I'm willing to have my mind change if there is evidence.
Yeah, change his mind.
I just did a quick at the same time.
Hold on, let's also go. Go ahead. So
can I speak to what the brother just said?
Okay, let me say this, and then you can address this too. It's quick. I'm still coming to grips with you saying you're not able to come to some type of settled feeling about Darwin, like when he lived in the 1800s. That's like if he lived in say like 1996, I'd be like, I get it, Sunshine. Like, with ML, civil rights not happening, but it's just the 1800s, bro. So go ahead, respond.
All right, I did a quick Google search. Did Darwin influence the quote unquote white man's burden? And here's what pops up. And I already know what you're going to say, so just hear me out. It says social Darwinism was particularly popular. Right. Wow. Social Darwinism was particularly popular in the early 1870s. This was Darwin's time, when Europeans were carrying out their massive imperialistic campaigns as part of the age of imperialism. The beliefs of ethnocentrism and social Darwinism can be seen in a famous poem by Rudyard Kipling called The White Man's Burden. Now, if you're going to tell me that you don't think social Darwinism got the idea that it was that the Europeans as the civilized races were supposed to civilize the uncivilized races of mankind, that's not written in Darwin's work, then that's where we're going to have to disagree. And I know you're going to...
Yeah, the ancestors got him out of there.
Definitely wasn't me.
Can I address that?
Go for it.
You want to go, Cedric? No, I want to make sure Cedric ain't want to
He already said. He already responded.
Yeah, go ahead. I addressed them already. So
So just for the listening audience, whenever you hear the word social Darwinism was not created by Darwin. That they created that after Darwin died. So the
It was
social
based in
Darwinism.
it was based in Darwin's work.
No, I'm in
Therefore,
the middle.
social Darwinism. It's named after Darwin for a reason.
Sunchild.
Let me finish.
Come on, bro. Have some respect.
Okay, just like Galton, his second cousin, misread Darwin's work, and Darwin say, "Nah, that's not what I'm meaning. You can read it in Wikipedia all day. I don't agree with you, bro. That's not what I'm saying. That's not it." And he creates the field that they call eugenics. So social Darwinism, if you read it, actually has nothing to do with Darwin. It's misunderstanding of Darwin's work. That's not Darwin's fault at all. If you misrepresent what I'm saying, like they do to me all the time, and they go kill a motherfucker, that's not my fault. I just want to add that to the conversation. Look it up.
Yeah. Just the same way we don't think that the modern followers of Jesus who make those claims are actually following Jesus. I mean, you can't be this hateful and not want to feed the hungry children, but we don't blame Jesus, correct? So I think there can always be a misinterpretation of someone's writings or someone's teachings, and it can be bastardized by people who have bad intentions. And so I think we can admit that Darwin had an idea. You had people who wanted to use they wanted to use some information in order for their own gains. And again, we can use the analogy of, a lot of modern Christians, correct? And so in essence, they don't appear to have much in common with Jesus, but they claim to follow his teachings. And yet when you hear them talk, they say things that are vastly different than anything you can actually find in what at least they would say is his writing. So I think we should just stick to whether or not did he write it, did he say it, and can you extract those ideas from that? If the answer is yes, okay, that's reasonable. If it's anathema to what that individual is saying or their teachers are saying, then you have to say the person who took those teachings have an ulterior motive, and that ulterior motive is for their own particular gain. And that we can all agree to, that is the most likely thing that happened. And it's reasonable. And we'll call that here Occam's razor, correct? That is likely that the person who needed these arguments decide to craft these ideas around it, because that is the most likely thing that had to have happened, because there does not appear to be anything that's correlated within the writings, if that makes sense.
Yep, that's
Yep, it does.
It makes sense. And
it makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense, brother. If, like you said, it is not in Darwin's work specifically and it's misinterpreted. What I'm telling you, apparently you haven't read this in Darwin's work, but Darwin's work specifically says that there are uncivilized races, and if they were to be taught civilization, they could be just as advanced as any European. That is the white man's burden. That is, by definition, the white man's burden is to civilize the uncivilized. And it came out of Darwin's work.
Okay, I'm going to read something. This comes from something that I have been studying. Is the white man's burden theological? Yes. The white man's burden is rooted in a pseudo-theological framework that reframes imperial conquest as a Christian moral duty. Christian moral duty. It portrays colonization not as exploitation, but as a selfless, divine mission to civilize and Christianize non-white, non-Christian populations. This ideology was heavily influenced by theological justifications like the curse of Ham, which were misused to promote white supremacy. You need to slow down and learn. I've been studying this before I knew who you were, bro.
Listen, what I just read, brother, what I just read about Rudyard Kipling, and who coined the phrase "the white man's burden" in that poem, didn't mention anything about theology. He mentioned social Darwinism and ethnocentrism. That's what it said influenced that poem, where it was coined. So I don't know where. By the way, I'm not denying that religion was also used. I'm not denying that religion, Christianity was used to colonize those people. the curse of Ham, like you said, yes, but for certain, Darwin was also a great influence on the idea of the white man's burden. And you cannot convince me of that.
Does colonialism and slavery predate Darwin? The transatlantic slavery, does that predate Darwin?
Yes.
Yes. Or no?
That doesn't mean it wasn't later used to justify it.
Did they
It was used.
Okay, but I'm saying, did they need justification if they're already doing it?
Yes. That's why the brother brought up. That's why if they didn't need justification, why did the brother mention Christianity? They used Christianity as a justification as well. They didn't need justification for it.
You're missing, but years later, with laws established, with established trade, with companies in place, with a theological framework already in place, you are using Darwin's theory of evolution to justify what was already an institution, and you're using an observation that he made in his writing, an observation as the premise for your whole justification. Make it make sense.
I've already made it make sense to you, and what I'm saying is the idea of the white man's burden came in the 1870s, and that was also justification for what they were doing around the world, colonizing the so-called savages, and that's what they called them as well, savages. You can say that they got that from Darwin as well.
So they
said it was the white man's burden to civilize the uncivilized, just like Darwin said.
That statement is a retrospective statement. It is a justification for what was already happening. What they were doing for hundreds of years. It is not a justification.
But you just said it's a justification for what was already happening. It was. Why did they use it? They needed that justification, and they found it useful. It was used. They put those Africans on display in cages and called them savages and said they had to be civilized, and that's what Darwin said.
You're never gonna, so you're never gonna forgive Sunshine. You tricked us. Darwin. You tricked us, Sunshine. He was on the fence. It was a love affair brewing
as a justification 200 years ago.
Yeah, like he was at a court. He was courting Darwin. There was a courtship going on. Now I kind of find out. You never want to date him anyway. Like you tricked us, bro. You never did.
Like I tried. I gave him his props. I said, he was not as racist as the polygenists and the monogenists before him, but he still was very influential in the colonization because he called them uncivilized and said they needed civilized people to civilize them. And that was their justification as well, along with the Christianity.
You're continuously misrepresenting Darwin's statement. You are being just as eugenics and social Darwinism as the rest of them because you're taking and misappropriating his words. First of all, the white man's burden is retrospect. It is establishing what they have already been doing. This is not creating a premise for what is coming in the future. It is hindsight. So you're misusing this term as if this term being used now is establishing the justification for. It is a retrospect. It is a poem, number one. So your whole analogy and your whole trying to conflate this thing is completely flawed. You have nothing to stand on. And again, Darwin was making an observation.
Let's look at Darwin.
Let me finish. Darwin was making an observation. He was on the Beagle traveling the world, seeing the results of this colonization. He is making an observation. When these people come in, you see a deterioration of their internal culture. What you are actually also seeing is that once these people are exposed to what we quote unquote civilized, they have this the equal learning capacity. Darwin was countering with his work the ideas of colonialism and slavery. He was
No, he
noting that these
wasn't.
people are not inferior by any stretch of the imagination. Exposed to the same work, exposed to the same systems, they can be equally as intelligent. He was
Right,
undermining
exactly.
all the premises
Exposed to the
of
same system, the
he,
white man.
let me finish.
Exposed to the white
He
man
was
system. That's what.
undermining. He was undermining all the tenets that kept slavery and colonialism in play. As a matter of fact, his
No,
family
he
was
didn't.
part of the abolitionist movement. So your rhetoric is misappropriated. It is wrong. It's taking him out of context. You are now doing social Darwinism with his words. That's what you are doing.
So
Right.
what's crazy?
And this is
Hey, hold on, son, child. Because what's crazy is the white man's burden was actually a poem about the Philippine American War in 1899.
Yeah, we just shared it. We just
Georgia
shared it.
okay.
Bro.
United
We read
States
to
assumed colonial
justify
control,
what? To justify
took
what?
them taking control of the island of the islands of Philippines.
Oh. And do what with the
Have,
Filipino
so,
people?
but 1899, slavery
Yeah.
and that shit was
And what?
well over.
What
So
was the
what
white
was
man's
going
burden?
on?
What was the white man's burden?
White man's
Was the white
burden
man's
had
burden
the
was the
white
white
man's
man's burden not to civilize the uncivilized people of the world?
again, the white man's
Again, what?
burden was a poem that was a continuation of an idea that had already been started by these colonizing European forces, bro. It's not something that
Yeah.
Rudyard Kipling, the poem, helped push forth, bro. They had already picked up and already established this so-called quote unquote white man's burden. When they
Yep.
use this shit called manifest destiny, that is the white man's burden. Go ye forth and Christianize the world. Bring them into the loving embrace of Jesus, even if they don't speak your language.
Did
Hey, Cedric, you been getting sharp over the
Rudyard
years,
Kipling
brother.
say anything
We
about
thank you for
religion?
joining us. We appreciate your support. Like, share and subscribe to the Pseudo Killers and community of skeptics. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sunshine.
Niggas slow.
Did Rudyard Kipling's poem mention Christianity?
Oh shit. He was a Christian.
Did his poem mention Christianity?
It didn't have to. He was a Christian.
It didn't. It didn't. So it didn't. What did it? But according to what I just read, he mentioned social Darwinism, Darwin, and ethnocentrism.
Did you just say a poem?
Yes. Yes, a poem. Rudyard Kipling, the white man's burden.
On a poet?
Yes, a highly influential poem in regards to in the 19th century, in the late 19th century, Darwin's time.
Opinion,
yes, one man. That's what it says. It was highly influential.
Hold on, Sunchild. You gotta let him get it out.
I just like to make a point when y'all finish.
Go ahead, say what you trying to get across.
Yeah, let me.
No,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're missing the part that
you're talking about a poem as if a poet establishes a philosophy and a doctrine. Again, you're taking this out of context. This is hindsight. This is reflection on what he is observing. It is not the impetus or the justification or the foundation for moving forward. So your whole analogy is incorrect.
I would just like to say for the listening audience, I like my racists like that. If you're going to be racist, be like Charles Darwin. Create a whole scientific theory that later on the human population would write 5 statements on race, condemning Nazi Hitler and what he did. So if you're going to be a racist, be like Charles Darwin, yo. I appreciate Charles Darwin and his racism. There you go.
Yeah, he messed up eugenics all the way.
You want to get it in, Grant? You got commentary? Or you
No, I was going to say, in essence, he talks about the British Empire's divine right to rule. Right? Like it was God's divine right. God had given the British the divine right to rule, and correct, and then the American were now taking over for the British. In essence, there was the articulation that the Americans would be an extension of the divine right of rule given over by God himself, the cool guy above. It's a cool guy. And that, and in essence, using other ways, because in essence, the reason that he has to use social Darwinism and do it wrong, that he has to continue this idea that the savages have to, that they have to be savages. You have to dehumanize, in essence, give you the divine right over the animals. This is the thing. If you think back in Genesis, where God gives Adam, correct, not a real story, but for the sake of those who believe it, in essence, he gives him the divine right over the animals. And in essence, this comes out of this, that humans have this divine right, and by proxy, the kings later on then have this rule over all, and then they can go out and rule all the savages. And by the way, the Europeans already knew that things like slavery was wrong. That's why they're like, we've become so enlightened that we know that doing bad-ish to our people is wrong. What we need to go find some people who aren't people. And we have to then reiterate that they aren't people, because we have already proven, correct, when they decide, when the Europeans for the most part decide that we no longer want to have a certain form of slavery, right? They had to go out and find other people. And this happens before you're talking about this wonderful poem, by the way. So this ideology is already there. But then you have people who are taking this and are trying to expand it to a modern world that is less imperial, correct? The American enterprise has always been about being imperialistic, but not quite imperialistic. So they had to come up with a framework that allowed for them to have all of the same sort of bells and whistles of the British Empire without having the same dress, correct? It had to be disguised under something else. And so unfortunately, they began to come up with other ways of calling things like a doctrine. They wanted to come up with other ways to sort of give it the feel of something more bureaucratic, but because it sounded better, it seemed less of an edict, correct? And it seemed more of some sort of bureaucratic mechanism that they had thought deeply about what they were doing. But they didn't care about the Filipinos. They thought that they were just dark brown people who needed to be controlled, correct? And they had to come up with an argument for it. And that's the part you have to understand. But even if I grant you, pun intended maybe, even if I grant you the idea that somehow Darwin was the person that was part of it, you've already conceded that Christianity and other earlier ideas are part of it. So if this was a cake of racism, correct? In essence, the Christianity is the whole cake, and Darwin is just the vanilla extract. And you're complaining about the vanilla extract as if that matters, because the cake is already baked. It was already a fundamental concept that had been used in order to subjugate people. And then you're saying this person came along, sprinkle some powdery sugar on it, and you're like, I guess it was Darwin the whole time. You're doing jack-in-the-box pop-ups of like Darwinism unnecessarily. Right. You can disagree with Darwin on the premise of correct evolution. I'm willing to hear you out on that. But in essence, you want to drag down him as a person in order to sort of to negate evolution. But why do all that? Just say you don't understand evolution, and then we can try to explain it to you or civilize you, and then get you to a place of understanding it. But you can't just
civilize the savage.
He tried to give us a little reach around like we don't know what's going on, man. And there's a song, Sunchild, by Bonnie Raitt called "I Can't Make You Love Me." Dope song. Go check that out, man. You'll like that one.
Hey, Sunchild, but is that essentially what you're trying to do? You're trying to discredit Darwin to overall discredit the the theory of natural selection?
No, I'm not. I haven't mentioned the theory of evolution at all. I'm just
asking. Hold on, I'm just asking, like, because. So, do you agree with the theory of natural selection?
I don't have a problem with the theory of natural evolution. I don't.
No more.
I mean, as far as microevolution is concerned, as far as microevolution is concerned,
But you know,
but that's not. But that's a whole nother. But
No,
that's a whole nother bag. That's a whole nother bag of as
hold on.
it's the
microevolution versus
same bag.
macroevolution and natural
If
selection and
you
so on.
it's
That's
the same
that's a
bag.
totally different bag. But let's stay on.
No,
But
it's
let's
the
stay
same
in this
bag.
bag. Let's stay in this bag. Let's stay in this bag. All I'm
But
saying
it's
is
the same bag.
Darwin.
Just as simple.
Outside of the theory of evolution, what Darwin said is there are civilized and uncivilized
Why not
races.
just look it up though? What's the
Right,
problem?
right.
Same
Go
way you
ahead,
just
look
looked
it
up
up. It's
that.
in his writing.
No, why not just
Also,
look up macroevolution? It's the same thing, it's just scale, yo. Why don't you just look it up though? The same
I'm
way you
saying,
just did that. Look that up, bro. That's what
Yeah,
called
it's
being
about the
disconnected.
size where you put your eyes. That's about the
if
size of it.
we did that, saying like if we grant him the Darwin argument, now what?
when can I
Okay,
speak, man?
Sunchild, it is
Hold on a
exactly
second,
as you
Sunchild.
suspected. Now what? Everything
Well,
about
it's
Darwin is
also
exactly as you suspected. Now what?
well now I'm right and you're wrong. That's what. So
Okay,
here's what this conversation is akin to. Here's what this conversation is akin to, and it's another issue. It's another issue with Darwin and this whitewashing, this total whitewashing of Darwin that you guys are doing to make him seem like he's perfect and he didn't influence this or that. He was also he was also in his writing. And let me finish. In his writing, this is also akin to the conversation of was Darwin influential in the idea of eugenics, where you all want to put it all on social Darwinism and Charles didn't have anything to do with that. But let me say this, he did. What Darwin said in his writing in the Descent of Man is regarding to eugenics. He says humans, he compared other animals and he said all the animals will let the weak of their species die off. And he says humans are the only species, I believe the word he used was naive enough to have the weak in their species continue, and that it's bad for the species. And here's where you guys will find favor in Darwin, and even I will, and even I will find favor in Darwin. He said what he said was, if you were to go out and do eugenics and eliminate the weak of our species, it would come at a high price, and it would be a evil. And if you do it, which he said you would be naive not to, but he said if you did it, it's understandable because man has a conscience, and he cannot go out and just kill people. So he said, so Darwin himself said, I don't recommend it.
I mean,
but when the others read it, they said, when we recommended what you said. You said we would be naive to not do it. We don't agree with you on that. We think
Sunchild, when I cut you off, stop. Wolves care for the elderly and the weak. I'm done. You see how easy it is to refute your claims?
No, brother, you're using one species. What Darwin said.
Hold on.
I only need one to disprove your claim.
Okay, so look, so Sunshine, I'm gonna let you land your plane. We ain't gonna be on this all night because we want to keep it at a certain time length for people that want to rewatch. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to watch 4, 5, 6 hours of a show. So we're gonna try to keep
I understand, brother. I'm just about done.
Hold on. I'm about to let you land your plane. And then we're gonna give you one last response, and then appreciate you coming on, brother.
Thank you, Ken, and I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate the respect and everything and I really appreciate that. Thank you for having me on, by the way, and for appreciating the conversation. But just to land my plane, I would say the same. What Darwin did, he spoke about the white man's burden of civilizing the uncivilized. He also spoke about eugenics, but even though he acknowledged that eugenics is natural in the animal world, and said humans were the only animals who didn't do it, and he said they were naive and it was bad for the species. However, because you'd have to do something very bad, he didn't recommend it. But others read what he said and said, we are not going to hit what. And basically what Darwin said is, you can't do an evil now, which is eliminate them, because it'll be a lot bigger evil later. You have to live with that, and you're going to eliminate a whole bunch of people. But other people are saying
Um,
no. It's more
which
necessary. It's more
which
necessary, and
animal
it's more of a
species
good.
eliminates
And it's
the old?
more. And let me finish. I'm landing my plane. But Darwin said it's a
Which
good.
animal
To,
species eliminates the weak and the old? Which animal
ask.
species engages in eugenics?
That's a question for Darwin because he's the one who said it, not
No, but
me.
you
I'm
made the
quoting
claim,
him.
though. You made the claim.
I didn't make the
So,
claim. Darwin did. Go in his work, The Descent of Man, and he says it. You want me to bring it
and
up?
he's talking about eugenics, and he's talking about animals doing ritual sacrifices and killing off the weak and the elderly within the species.
Yes, and he even went as far as to talk about
Which animal?
vaccination,
Which,
and he
since you
was
read it,
against vaccine. He
since you
said
read it, tell
we
us
are
the species of animal that
foolish.
does
He
it.
said he said vaccinating the weak in our species is bad for the
Do
species.
me a favor. I'm asking you to do me a favor. Since you read that animals engage in eugenics, which animals?
Which animal? That's a question. I'd have to research that, but that's a question for Darwin. Now you're saying Darwin? Are you saying Darwin did not say that? You're questioning Darwin now. He said it. It's in
I
his
went in for
work,
the
and you
land.
know it,
I went in for the
and you
land,
know it.
You
You
do
know it.
realize
You
that
know he said it.
We on the runway. You on the runway, sunchild? The wheels out.
So let
Yeah,
me
wherever
land,
you in,
Ken,
I got
and
the
I'm
lights
done.
from
Let me
wherever you
land,
in.
Ken, and I'm done. I'm done right here. The same way Darwin is also not totally complicit in eugenics in his writing. He's also complicit in the white man's burden because of what he said. You can't. I'm not, and I'm giving him his props. I'm saying for his time, he was probably the least of the racist scientists out there in Europe. But his theory didn't help. They still used his ideas about the civilized, civilizing the uncivilized. He wrote that, and that's what they used.
And we accept
You
we
can't
accept we
escape
accept
that.
the trophy on
You
behalf of
cannot
Darwin, Sunshine.
whitewash that.
We
You
got
can't
you.
just sweep that. You cannot just sweep that under the
Sunshine.
rug. I'm sorry.
Sunshine.
All right, man.
Yes.
Appreciate
Civilized, uncivilized,
Land
bro.
is land. Land is land.
Say what?
Appreciate you coming on, sunchild. We gonna get it again and again. Shit, we might go live tomorrow, man.
Thank you to the PKs. Big up to the PKs. PK forever. Well, maybe not forever. Maybe for a little bit longer, but you know.
No, forever's good. Forever's good.
Shout out to you, man.
Forevermore. Forevermore.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank
I'm gonna continue listening. I appreciate it. Peace and love.
Awesome. Peace.
Same to you, brother.
All right, did y'all want to get one last response to that, or how you want to do it, Sid?
Nah, man, I'm good on that. Maybe somebody else might want to. I'm cool on that.
Sure, D. Yeah, we're gonna try to close it on out, man, because we don't want to go into 4 hours, man. We want y'all to come back and watch this thing again, or watch it for the first time. We don't want that number to make you feel like, dang, we got 4 or 5 hours to watch. So man, any last word, man? Grant, man, appreciate you coming on with us too, man. My first time meeting you on the panel, man. Seemed like you dropping
pull them
some
more
jewels.
often, man. We need some
real big
like-minded individuals, man. Jesus Christ. We outnumbered, bro. I promise you. We outnumbered. Not done.
Yeah, no, great. I mean, I've been, like I said when I first joined, it's been wonderful hearing people talk about science in this way. I think it's helpful, and I think even some of the pushback I think is good. I think for those who are still wading through the waters or trying to figure out a logic, being scientifically minded, I think this is a way to sort of give them a chance to hear how you work through a logic tree and how do you frame things up. And so, I think we have quite a bit of work to do. And I would just say, I'm not necessarily going to respond to Son. I think he did a good job, but I would just say one of the things that we miss in these arguments is we are not saying that Darwin is without fault, correct? He's not a deity within our understanding scientifically. Einstein got things wrong. Newton, I'm pretty sure he got some things wrong, like alchemy, correct? So in essence, we are accepting what I think is the underpinnings of what science looks like, and so the testability of it, and it's replicable, correct? And so these are all based on the scientific method, and in essence, whatever was done prior, people are coming behind Darwin and Einstein, correct? And they're either proving it or disproving it. And we're okay with that. In essence, whatever is being dismantled as science progresses, we are actually more than happy, correct? Because that's going to improve all of our understanding about the world around us and the universe around us. And I think if we think about science in that way, I think we'll be all better off. That this isn't us trying to erect gods and deities of science. What we're trying to erect is a way for us to think about the world and how to engage in a much more scientific way. And so it's easy to try to trap. I think the attempt is to trap us of saying, well, you can't say something bad about, if you say something bad about Darwin, therefore all of Darwin is nullified. But you're never going to win that argument because we don't care. We don't care. And so we're not going to lose any sleep. And I can tell you, there are no science departments that are losing sleep on your hate on Darwin. Good luck. If you have an alternative view, open your own science department and disprove it. You can get all of the minions that you have that are online that are like pseudo. Cool. We actually hope and pray to whatever God you believe in, correct? That you can undermine modern science. And we will be able to tell people, I once did a podcast with him on YouTube, and I will put that on my gravestone. And people will come and praise me for having been in the presence of greatness. So I'm rooting for you in every possible way. But until then, I'm just going to celebrate Darwin the whole time. So good luck with that.
Already, man. Appreciate you coming through, Grant. Hey, Sid and Sosa and Sabio, man. Any last words, man? Y'all want to get off real quick?
Well, I just concur with what he said. I don't really have much to say after that. Because I've said it a lot. Until you come with a theory that overturns the scientific method, stop hollering at me. Go win the Nobel Peace Prize, then holler at me.
Yeah, man, this concludes the first episode of Set Talk, man. Good show, Sad. Like I said, I got off late, so I didn't get a time to jump in this butt late. But yeah, I like this. I like this setup.
Yeah, appreciate all the hard work that Ken and the God Killer put in developing the show. As you can see, it is a necessary evil. We'll be back next week, Wednesday. We continue to build on this. I'm slowing down the conversation around evolution. We'll deal with the micro, macro, and all the misconceptions. I appreciate Grant for stopping by. Sabio, as always, a good brother, and the rest of the pseudo. Don't forget, we got the Brain Show. We got Space Ace Anthony and Mac Rob is coming with the medical show. So stay in tune. Pseudo Killers is bringing you this information to get us scientific, accurate, and correct. Peace. We out.
A pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunstring. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunstring. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunstring. Pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunstring. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunstring. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunstring. Who do you believe in? People bringing misinformation when that information ain't disinformation. That's disinformation. Gotta know the difference in information. Get information with the pseudo killer army hunting pseudo. Cause you gotta train your mind to fight against them pseudo judo. People with the scholarship salute, we give them kudos. But the people with that look of shit, we look and see straight through those like telescope. If you ain't speaking fast, we gotta tell them folks and let them know the truth. You bringing malinformation to blast, then you the Ku Klux. Like say, don't talk me to death, bro, what the proof of? Good choo-choo chillin', why you wanna go way bad choo-choo up? Shalom boy got the tank in the cut. I'm in Sosa world plotting on the kick though with Kent. Come in Tiffany gave me the pseudo names on the list and said went and got the low. Anthony got him in the scope, Gullah and Gozy make sure DNA ain't a problem for them folks. Cause a pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer. I'm a pseudo killer.